Over the past 2 years, I've documented some of the rarest anomalies ever found in Minecraft. From seeds that crash the game to the rarest Minecraft death ever recorded. These occurrences are almost unnatural, with many of them being one of a kind. And in this video, I've put together every single anomaly from the 10 videos I've made. And there's even a secret Easter egg somewhere in the video, if you can find it. So sit back, subscribe, and enjoy. Have you ever wondered if there's a Minecraft seed that simply can't be accessed? A seed that no matter how long you wait, the world will never load and the game will crash. Well, after doing some digging on the internet, I found an old forum post from 2012 by a user named Aquafilth. In his post, Aquafilth said that if you put the seed Ivan the Blue in Minecraft, your game will crash. There were many people in the replies saying that by testing this seed, they confirmed that it doesn't work, while others said that the seed did work for them. So I went on Minecraft 1.4.2 and created a new world to test this for myself, and after entering the seed in, I can confirm that the world doesn't load. I also tested the seed without capital letters, and that does load the world. So my theory is that those who say the world does load tried it without capitals, or did it in a different version. I also converted the seed into its numbers and entered that in, which also didn't work. I tried many other variations, which all loaded in just fine, but for some reason this particular seed doesn't load. Seeds like this are very rare in Java, so this was a big anomaly in the game at the time. After finding this seed, I wondered whether there were more seeds like this, so eventually I went down a rabbit hole of old bug reports, where I found 2 other cases of this happening on 1.4.2. These 2 seeds also don't load and will crash the game if you try and exit. I was wondering the reason for this, and I found that on one of the bug reports, someone said that this happened because the game tried to generate a stronghold in a place where it couldn't, so the world just wouldn't load. Mojang also noticed this bug, and all of these seeds were fixed in the next release. But anyway, this is an interesting anomaly that happened during early Minecraft, and this version is the only known version that can have seeds like this. Also, if anyone wants to elaborate on this, feel free to do so in the comments. I'm posting the crash report here as well, in case anyone wants to go into detail about why this happened to the strongholds. If you didn't know, snow golems can spawn naturally in Minecraft. However, this phenomenon has barely ever been recorded, as it's so rare. And I'm not talking about endermen picking up pumpkins, but snow golems that are guaranteed to spawn on certain seeds. This event is so rare in fact, that many players outright deny that it's even possible, and call it a myth. Which makes sense because barely anyone has come across them. Natural snow golems are so obscure that there's even posts on Reddit suggesting that snow golems should spawn in naturally, which shows how unknown this phenomenon is. For a snow golem to spawn naturally in a seed, you need 2 snow blocks and a carved pumpkin to spawn next to each other. The problem is that pumpkins almost never spawn in snow biomes, and the placement has to be exactly right. Also, this can only happen in older versions, back when pumpkins generated already carved, which means it's impossible to happen in modern Minecraft. So okay, hypothetically snow golems can spawn naturally, but are there any seeds where this has been confirmed? Well, by searching the internet, I was able to find only 2 seeds, where we can witness this extremely rare event. These aren't the only 2 seeds in existence, but these were the only 2 I could find. The first one is from 2015, where a user named RobotAssassin99 created a post to the Minecraft wiki, where he claimed that snow golems could spawn naturally, and he provided a seed for proof. He also added some specific instructions, being that you have to be outside of render distance and walk towards the area for the snow golem to spawn, rather than teleporting straight to it. So I went on 1.8.1 and entered the seed, and spawned in the world. At first, we spawned in a normal forest biome, but this isn't what we're here for. To get to our snow golem, we need to teleport to these coordinates, which are over 1,000,000 blocks away from spawn, which is fitting considering how rare this event is. I tested this a lot, and I found that the best way to get the golem to spawn is to teleport yourself at the top of the world, and then drop down to render it in. Otherwise, it has a chance of not spawning. And here we have it, the rarest type of mob that can naturally spawn. It's so adorable. The second seed is an interesting one, because it's actually the seed for 2B2T. This was found by a user called Desertion on Reddit, where he randomly came across a snow golem on his travels. To see this golem, you have to go to Minecraft 1.12.2 and type in this seed, then teleport to this far out location, and you can see that it's here. People say that a natural snow golem has a 1 in 5 trillion chance of spawning, but personally I'm skeptical of that, because with those odds, nobody should be able to find one spawn by chance, but as you just saw, someone did. But either way, it's still extremely rare to come across, and an interesting anomaly in Minecraft. I also want to disprove a misconception about snow golems being able to spawn in modern versions. While pumpkins don't spawn in carved, there's still pillager outposts that have carved pumpkins, and sometimes jack-o'-lanterns can spawn in taiga villages, like in this seed. But the way that chunk loading works now is that golems can only be made after the chunks generate, so the world just can't randomly spawn one in for you. Also, by testing the natural jack-o'-lanterns and pillager outposts, I found that you can't use those pumpkins to make snow golems, even after the chunks generate. For some reason, in modern versions, natural pumpkins seem to be locked from being made into golems. So the only way for it to happen now is if an enderman builds it, but sadly it's a random event, and there's no specific seeds where this is guaranteed to happen, which is pretty sad, but at least it's a cool piece of history that used to be able to happen. There are many stronghold anomalies that can happen in Minecraft. These range from the end portal being fully completed to being destroyed. While these events are incredibly rare, they're also very well documented, and seed hunters have already found many of these. So it's not something that I want to cover in this video. What I do want to cover is something much less known, the original 12-eye end portal seed. This was the first ever discovery of a completed end portal, and it was found by a player called Azalef in 2015. Azalef was a very dedicated seed hunter back in the day, before seed finding even became popular, and is the person who discovered that end portals could have all 12 eyes filled out. One of his discoveries was this seed right here. It's a completed end portal, but it's deactivated. You may think that this doesn't make any sense, but this was actually how every 12-eye end portal looked like until 1.9. It's just that nobody had ever found one before, so the bug was never reported. After seeing that a 12-eye portal doesn't activate, Azalef reported this bug, and from 1.9 onwards, any portal that had 12 eyes was automatically activated. So without this person finding this rare anomaly and reporting it, there may never have been naturally lit end portals in Minecraft, which are now used for world record speedruns. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.8.9 and enter this seed. Once you're in the world, teleport to these coordinates, and you'll be right in front of it. While this is as rare as any other 12-eye end portal, which is a 1 in a trillion chance, the fact that this is deactivated and was the first completed end portal to be found makes it a very interesting anomaly. And fun fact, during this time, most people on Minecraft forums said it was impossible for such a seed to exist, which makes it all the more interesting. Seeing as it's Christmas, I think it's fitting to start off with an anomaly like this one. In 1.16, there was a rare block which could be found in snow biomes. This block isn't actually that special, as it's simply a grass block, but the weird thing about it is that it's a texture that should never be seen in the game. This texture only appears when a snow layer is on top of a grass block, and if you remove the snow layer, the grass block turns back to normal. But if there is no snow layer, but the block hasn't updated, it'll cause the grass to have a greyish texture. Many people call this the rarest block in Minecraft, but while I'm sure there's plenty of rarer blocks out there, there's currently no way to get this block anymore, unless you happen to find it during older updates, like 1.16. So there were actually two ways this block could spawn. The first one is if an enderman picked up a grass block with snow on it, and then placed it back down. Or if you were lucky enough, this could naturally generate in your world. In March of 2021, a user called Unsortites made a post on Reddit claiming to have found the rare snow block, right at spawn. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.16.4 and type in this seed, and you'll spawn right next to a lake with one of these blocks. Also, if you were wondering, you can't pick it up or mine it with Silk Touch. I also want to note that many other people have found this block and have discovered glitches to make it, so it's not a one-of-a-kind anomaly, but finding this naturally was still rare, and now it's not even possible to get it without commands, because it can't be found anymore, and the glitches to make it have been patched. This anomaly has been slowly lost to time, and it's likely that it will be even more forgotten in the future. In Minecraft, you can find two types of villages. Normal villages, which are pretty common, and abandoned villages, which have about a 2% chance to spawn in Java. But did you know there's a third type of village, which is the rarest of all? I call this village the ghost village. This next anomaly involves this village, more specifically the lack of a village. For some reason, from 1.16 onwards, there's a very rare chance that can cause a village to generate without any structures. This causes it to spawn with only roads and hay bales, which looks very very strange. This phenomenon has been occasionally documented by players over the last few years, but it's still barely known about in the wider community. In fact, these villages are still prevalent to this day and can be found in the latest version, which is 1.20.4 right now. One recent time that this was found was in a particular seed that was posted to Reddit. This seed was found by a user called Avuman, and this is one that still works on the latest version. I also couldn't find any official bug reports on this anomaly, so it looks like it's gone under the radar for a long time. To see this for yourself, you need to go to Minecraft 1.20.4 and type this seed in. Then teleport to these coordinates and you'll find it. I don't really know how rare a ghost village is, but I've never come across one, and it must be very obscure if nothing's been done to fix it all these years. Also, in this particular seed, for some reason, the village well generates underground, which could have something to do with a glitch. But either way, it's a rare anomaly and something that definitely wasn't supposed to happen, unless Mojang secretly added a third village type. But yeah, if anyone has any extra info on this, feel free to explain it in the comments as well. The void is usually not something that's accessible in the overworld, but there are certain seeds in which people have found broken bedrock. No structures are able to break bedrock, by the way, as it's always prioritized to be generated last. But there is one exception, and for some reason, that's ruined portals. If a ruined portal generates over bedrock, it will remove it. But this shouldn't be an issue, because ruined portals usually never spawn on bedrock level, because they only generate on the surface, or in shallow caves. But there is a way this can happen, and that's because of a phenomenon called sinkholes. Sinkholes are very rare to come across, and they're almost anomalies on their own. If you didn't know, Minecraft sinkholes are huge holes that suddenly go down to almost bedrock level, and there's usually either water or lava at the bottom. While sinkholes by themselves are rare, having a ruined portal spawn at the bottom of them is even rarer. Several seeds like this have been found, but they usually only have one or a couple of void holes, which is impressive, but the seed I want to focus on today is different. This seed was found by a user called TheGamerRC on Reddit, where he made a post claiming he discovered a seed with 35 void holes from a nether portal that spawned on the lowest possible location. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.19.2 and type in this seed, then teleport to these coordinates and you'll be at the portal. This is honestly very impressive, and if you removed all of the breakable blocks, you can see that there are several openings to enter the void. The reason this is so incredibly rare, even among other seeds like this, is that other seeds usually spawn the portal on the lava at the bottom of a sinkhole, but this one spawned even lower, and it even exposes the bedrock itself, which usually never happens naturally. Theoretically, there may even be a seed out there with 2 or more ruined portals, which could have an entire section of bedrock removed. But right now, this seed may be the closest we have to a true bedrock hole in Java Edition. Have you ever wondered what the furthest spawn point in Minecraft is? Well, maybe you haven't, because not many people really wonder that, but it seems like a few people on a Discord server called Minecraft at Home have wanted to know the answer to this. To give some context as to how spawning works, the Minecraft wiki says that a player can spawn within plus 500 or negative 500 in each direction from the origin point, which is 0, on every world. But if there's something that obstructs this spawn, then the game will try and spawn players anywhere up to plus 1500 and negative 1500 in each direction. Keep in mind though that spawning this far out is extremely rare, and most times you spawn in a new world, you'll only be a few blocks away from 0. But yeah, the actual mechanics of spawning are much more complicated, and I don't have the knowledge to explain them. So the answer to the question of the furthest spawn is that we'll probably never know what it is, but there is a seed that may be the furthest found so far. On the Discord server Minecraft at Home, which is a famous seed finding server, a user named Nels, with the help of many others who are all credited in the description, made a post with the furthest spawns they found, after using programs to search through billions of seeds. To load the world, you have to go on 1.19.4 and type in this seed. You'll notice that when you spawn, you'll be at these coordinates, which if you calculate it, is 1759 blocks away from 0, and this distance, according to Nels, has less than a 1 out of 3.1 trillion chance of happening. There's also another seed that was found by Nels, which has the furthest spawn point on a single axis in any seed found so far, being 1673 blocks in the X direction. To load it, you have to go on version 1.20.1 and type in this seed. This distance from 0 is insane, and it's crazy to see what some people can find with a lot of dedication and programming skills. Distance spawns from 0 are interesting anomalies, and honestly I'm wondering what other distances will be found in the future as well. In Bedrock Edition, if you enter a stronghold, there's a very small chance that there's no end portal room. This anomaly has been in the game for a very long time, and Mojang has chosen not to fix it despite all the bug reports that have been made over the years. As you can see, there are several instances of this happening to players, and the reason that this happens is because something has blocked the generation of the end portal room. That's a major difference between Java and Bedrock. In Java Edition, the portal room will always spawn no matter what else is generated there. So for example, if a stronghold generates in the ocean, all of the rooms could be missing, except for the portal room. Bedrock Edition doesn't prioritize the portal room, so if there's a place where it can't generate it, it'll be missing. This anomaly is very rare, and I wasn't able to find any seeds on the current version with this. But there are a lot of seeds in previous versions where people have found missing portal rooms, and the bug tracker says that this hasn't been fixed as of yet. Something interesting about Bedrock Edition is that structures can generate in very strange positions, and can often overlap. I'm not just talking about two structures being near each other, but multiple structures that have merged together. Remember how I said earlier that a natural iron golem was found in old Bedrock Edition because more than one village was merged together? Well, there are instances of triple or even quadruple villages spawning together, because when a structure generates in Bedrock, the game doesn't care whether another structure is already there or not. This can cause absurd scenarios such as these monstrosities over here. This world generation affects every structure, and even strongholds. For example, you can see that in this seed, two strongholds have generated together, which is very weird. Imagine finding that while playing the game, you'd be so confused. In Java, structures can be merged together as well, but not to this extent. For example, two strongholds will never spawn together, because they generate in a ring pattern on Java Edition. Aquifers are bodies of water that usually generate on the surface or underground, but on Bedrock Edition, there are times when these spawn in weird positions. So for example, here's an aquifer that generates normally, and now here's one that generated in the sky. It's a very weird sight. There's not much else to say about this other than it's a very strange feature of land generation in Bedrock Edition. As you can see, Bedrock Edition has much crazier land generation than Java, and this can lead to a lot of weird seeds. But as of a few years ago, Mojang has been making seeds between the two versions more similar, so it looks like things are being smoothened out slowly. This anomaly was commented by a viewer called ZanzaYTP on my previous video, where they made a comment telling me to cover an anomaly where the end dimension doesn't generate. This sounded interesting, so I went on the bug report to see what this was all about. The bug report was originally posted by a user called DabMK in December of 2023. On the report, DabMK posted 6 seeds that have no end island whatsoever. The only things there are floating obsidian pillars, and even the exit portal is broken. The interesting thing about this anomaly is that it's not in a specific version of Minecraft. These seeds do this exact same thing for as long as the end dimension was added to Minecraft, because the end generation is always the same. That means that if you load one of these seeds in version 1.0, which was released in 2011, the end island will be missing, and this will happen in every version since. These aren't the only seeds that do this though, as many other seeds were added to the list in the comments of the bug report. If you want to try one of these seeds, I've put it up on the screen, and you can use it on any version. Then set an end portal, and you'll see that the end island is missing. So I was wondering why this happened to these seeds, and seeing that there were no answers on the bug report, I went on the famous seed finding server Minecraft at Home to see if anyone there knew anything about it. I asked if anyone had any extra info on this, and one of the admins replied and said that end islands are always randomly generated and can have any amount of endstone. That explains why sometimes you can get a smaller or larger end island. But these seeds are extremely rare in that they happen to not generate any endstone whatsoever. So it's a bit misleading to say that the end islands fail to generate on these seeds because they're generating as intended, but in a very rare way. After I got that info, to my surprise, the actual finder of these seeds replied to my message. It's a very small world. His name is Andrew, and he said that those seeds he found weren't even all of them, as the code was broken and missed many results. I also asked him if he knew the chances of this happening, and he said that he didn't know the exact chance because the code was broken, but it was at least 19 out of 2 to the power of 48, because those 19 seeds had no endstone whatsoever. So that would make the chances at least this number. but he said it's probably a bit higher. Someone else named Batmat also gave me a link to Andrew's list of seeds with low end stone amounts. So if you enter one of these thousands of seeds in, you'll end up on an end island with very little end stone. Take this seed for example, which is a very small and scattered end island. This list of seeds was finalized by Andrew in June of 2023, so he was searching for these seeds a long time before the bug report. After finding all these seeds, Andrew narrowed down the list to the 19 seeds which had no end stone whatsoever. Also, he did say that out of this list of seeds, there are probably more seeds with no end stone, but they were missed because of the broken code. So now, it's unclear what Mojang will do about this. They've marked the bug report as high priority, but as this affects such a small number of seeds, they may decide to overlook it. We'll have to see what happens in the coming updates. Ice spikes come in all shapes and sizes. There are short ones and tall ones. The Minecraft wiki says that short ice spikes are about 15 blocks tall, while tall ice spikes can be over 50 blocks tall. But there are rare times when they can be larger than usual. In September of 2023, a Reddit user called Your Local Knight found a seed with an unnaturally tall ice spike. This ice spike starts at Y level 63 and reaches to a height of Y 178, making it 115 blocks tall. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.20.4 and type in this seed. Then teleport to these coordinates and you'll find it. The only reason this happened is because of some floating blocks above the ice spike, which forced it to stretch up to the very top. There also happens to be another abnormally tall ice spike right next to it because of the floating blocks. But if you remove the second ice spike, you can see the massive difference between the tall one and all of the rest. It's like a skyscraper. Finding something like this is very uncommon, and there aren't many posts out there about tall ice spikes. The reason for that is there hasn't been a proper search into the tallest ice spike. So this particular one is definitely not the tallest that exists, but it's one of the tallest that were found and reported by a normal player. Seeing as there hasn't been a big search done yet, there's a lot of potential to find bigger ones, and maybe there's even one out there that reaches to the world height limit. Anything is possible. Pig spawners are unobtainable blocks that should never be found in vanilla Minecraft. However, over the years, several players have managed to find some in their worlds. This seemingly impossible anomaly can happen when a dungeon spawner becomes glitched. One instance of this happening was found by a user called DeathSkull on Reddit in August of 2021. In his post, he found two dungeons that generated together, and one of the chests spawned at the same spot as a spawner. This reset the spawner's data back to the default, which is a pig spawner. To see this, you need to go on Minecraft 1.16.5 and type in this seed. Then teleport to these coordinates and you'll see it. Sadly, this pig spawner doesn't actually work, even if you place grass and add light, because the game still treats it as a chest. But there are more extreme instances where this has been observed. There have been seeds found, like this one, with 5 pig spawners, which generate in mine shafts. This anomaly went viral a few years ago because it seemed outlandish and shouldn't be possible. But guess who found this anomaly? After doing some research, I was surprised to see that it's our good friend Andrew himself. I even asked Minecraft at Home to clarify whether it's the same Andrew that found the quintuple spawners and the endstone seeds, and it's confirmed that it's the same person. I said this before, but honestly, it's a very small world. So huge shout out to Andrew for finding these things. So anyway, the reason that these quintuple pig spawners happened is because a buried treasure chest generated at the exact same spot as a mineshaft spawner. And when a buried treasure generates, it covers the surrounding area with a block it spawned on. So if it spawns on sand, it covers the surrounding area in sand. But in this case, it generated on a spawner, and it covered the surrounding area with spawners. Since it also reset the data of the spawners as well, they became pig spawners. To see this anomaly for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.16.5 and type in this seed. Then teleport to these coordinates and it's right here. The interesting thing about these spawners is that pigs do spawn. I would say that you could use this as a pig farm, but realistically, no one will ever come across this on their own. In 2021, two players called Cortex and Mooing Cow Milk worked together to find a seed that will always kill you when you spawn. Many other seeds with spawn kills have been found over the years, such as spawning underground or in other dangerous locations. But what makes this seed unique is that the spawn killing is continuous, meaning that no matter how much you try, you'll always die in this seed. A few years ago, some people took on the challenge of beating this seed, but the only way they were able to do it was by using a glitch in a snapshot of the game that allowed them to get inside this one block block hole, but for anyone else who plays this seed normally on 1.16, it's completely impossible to survive. There's nowhere to grab onto, and you can't break any blocks before you're already dead. If you want to try this for yourself, go on Minecraft 1.16 and type in this seed. Then, you'll be dead in a matter of seconds. To me, seeds like this are very interesting, as they're so far removed from what Mojang intended for the game. There should be no situation where you continuously die whenever you spawn, yet this seed exists. Also, one of the finders of this seed, Mooing Cow Milk, actually commented in the first Anomalies video, which again, just shows how small of a world it is. Bedrock can only generate on the 4 bottom layers of the world. That means there should be no place in Minecraft where bedrock spawns above that level. But there is a seed found by a person called Dylan DC14, which has a piece of bedrock above that level. The reason this particular piece of bedrock is higher than the rest is because of the same reason as the quintuple pig spawners. A buried treasure chest generated at the very bottom of the world, and it covered itself in bedrock, which made a piece of bedrock stick upwards. Usually such an occurrence isn't possible, because buried treasure usually generates on any block near the top of the world. For it to generate like this, it needs to be in a place where there are no blocks covering the bedrock layer, and seeing that there aren't many places in Minecraft worlds with exposed bedrock, it needs very specific conditions for this to happen, which is why this is so rare. This location has a triple ravine next to an ocean, which has an exposed lava pit at bedrock level. This was what allowed the buried treasure to generate down here. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.16.5 and type in this seed. Then teleport to these coordinates and you can find it. Dylan's YouTube channel will also be linked in the description below, and I recommend checking it out as he has a lot of interesting seed discoveries there. The next anomaly is probably the most famous one. In 2022, there was a huge hunt done by the Discord server Minecraft at Home to find the tallest cactus that could generate in Minecraft. Tall cacti are minor anomalies that you may have even found in your worlds. Many players have reported finding 4 block, 5 block, or even 6 block tall cacti in their worlds. The chances of this happening are very rare, but they can also be much taller than this. During the cactus hunt, code was used to simulate world generation and search through millions of seeds. During this time, many abnormally tall cacti were found, such as the 20 block tall cactus and many other huge cacti. But out of all of them, there are 2 cacti which are the tallest. The first is a 23 block tall cactus. To see this, you need to go on Minecraft 1.14.4 and type in this seed, then teleport to these coordinates and you'll be here. It's very interesting that this remote location with a small desert managed to generate one of the strangest sights you can naturally see in Minecraft. Most people know this cactus as the tallest one, but there is one other that is slightly taller, that being the 24 block tall cactus. Now this one is much different to the previous, because you have to set the world type to a super flat desert. As this one isn't on the default world type, many people prefer to talk about the 23 block tall cactus, but this one is the tallest ever found. To see it for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.14.4 and type in this seed. Then teleport to these coordinates and you'll find it. Theoretically, even taller ones are possible, but the chances of them occurring are too rare and not worth the search. So these 2 cacti will probably stand as the tallest for a long time to come. This is another famous anomaly that was found by Dylan DC14, the same person who found the piece of bedrock at Y5. Despite the name of this anomaly, it doesn't always guarantee that another portal will generate. The reason this can happen is because a ruined portal generated beneath the obsidian room of a woodland mansion, which makes a complete portal frame. When you go there, the lava from the portal starts burning the mansion, and there's a chance that it can ignite the portal. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.16.4 and type in this seed, then teleport to these coordinates here, and you'll need to wait a couple of minutes and the portal has a chance to ignite on its own. What makes this particular seed even more interesting is that there's also a glitched end portal if you teleport to these coordinates. Dylan found other nether portal seeds as well, but this one's the most interesting because of the glitched end portal. Dylan also said that this is a good seed for adventure mode playthroughs because you can access both the nether and the end without any blocks. Repeating seeds used to be very popular on YouTube from the mid-2010s to 2020. This anomaly would cause entire worlds to repeat themselves, including caves, trees, and all land generation. This anomaly wasn't only limited to the overworld, but the other dimensions as well. There are many seeds that were found with repeating land generation, but if you want to see one for yourself, try this seed on 1.17, then teleport to -1000 and you'll find an infinite mineshaft. This is a very strange sight, and nearby you can find other repeating caves and lava pools as well. This seed was featured in a video by iCraftMC in October of 2021, but there are many other seeds like this as well. Despite this phenomenon being so well documented, this is still near impossible for anyone to come across naturally. If you want to know more about this anomaly, I recommend watching Ant Venom's videos on repeating seeds, as he can better explain why they happen in the first place. For this anomaly, I'm only going to be talking about naturally generated triple chests, because with commands and world edit, there are many ways to make a triple chest, but finding one in your world is much rarer, and this can't even be found in versions past 1.12. So the way this can happen is if a dungeon chest generates as a double chest, which is already rare, and then a mineshaft chest or another dungeon chest generates right next to it. This anomaly is quite interesting, as this chest has more storage space than a double chest, and its layout is glitched. The most famous triple chest was found all the way back in late 2011 when a Reddit user called LedRaps found it randomly in their world. To see this, you need to go on beta 1.8.1 and type in this seed, then make your way to these coordinates. By the way, there were also many other ways you could make triple chests, such as using the set block command to place a single chest next to a double chest, or using tools like world edit to add a third chest. The interesting thing is that there could potentially even be natural quadruple chests, or even quintuple chests out there, if 2 or more dungeons spawn together. Seeing as this anomaly is so old, it's mostly faded into obscurity, but it's a cool phenomenon either way. If you'd like to know more about the history of triple chests, then I'd recommend watching Sal's video, as it's a very interesting phenomenon. In March of 2011, a user named Steve Jr. 47 posted to the Minecraft forums claiming to have found the largest pumpkin patch in Minecraft, with 32 pumpkins in one location. From the look of things, however, it seems that these are 2 pumpkin patches that generated together to make this larger one, as they usually don't spawn in this big. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft beta 1.3 and type in this seed. Then you need to walk all the way to these coordinates, and it's right here. You can see the pumpkin patch is slightly disconnected because the 2 patches didn't spawn directly on top of each other. This is another anomaly which has never had a large hunt for it, meaning that we're only limited to what normal players have been able to find, rather than using code to simulate world generation and find seeds with massive patches. I've searched all over the internet, but it seems that for now, this patch with 32 pumpkins is the largest one anyone has ever reported. The average villager house in Minecraft is about 5 to 7 blocks tall. There are some variations such as the cleric tower or double-story houses which can reach over 10 blocks tall, but there are ways that houses can be much taller. If a villager house generates on a non-flat surface, the base of the house will become taller to accommodate for the landscape. Usually this is only a few blocks and doesn't look too strange. However, sometimes it can be extreme. Out of all the seeds with tall villager houses, there's one in particular which to my knowledge has the tallest villager house in the non-amplified world. This seed was found in January of 2018, but it seems like the original finder was lost to time. The closest I could find was a YouTube channel called Minecraft Seeds Everyday, which featured the seed in a video back in 2018. Over the years, this seed became popular in some places on the internet, and was even featured on a forum post in 2019, which described it as a seed with a skyscraper. So to see this for yourself, you need to type in this seed on Minecraft 1.12.2, and then teleport to these coordinates. As you can tell, this house is extremely tall. If you're wondering exactly how tall, at its very peak, the house reaches a height of Y226, and its base starts at Y70. So that means that this villager is living in a 156 block tall house. So now you can see why this is called the seed with a skyscraper. The interesting thing is that there are probably even taller houses out there, but the chances of them happening are extremely rare. So for now, this is the tallest house that has ever been found in Minecraft. So this anomaly is about the most diamonds that have ever been found in a single vein. To give some context as to how diamond generation worked pre 1.18, each chunk attempts to spawn one vein of diamonds, and each vein has a maximum of 10 diamonds that can generate. This was extremely rare, and on average each vein only had 4 to 5 diamonds, and most chunks didn't even have any diamonds whatsoever. Since only one diamond vein could generate in a chunk, you may think that it means that the biggest diamond vein is 10 blocks. This is true, but if 2 or more veins of diamonds happen to spawn at a chunk border, they could create much larger veins. So knowing that, in February of 2021, a person called 19mrx98 made a video where they used code to try and find the largest diamond vein in Minecraft. What they found was a vein of 30 diamonds. This happened because 3 veins of 10 diamonds spawned on 3 chunk corners. To give into perspective how rare this is, the finder says that finding even just one vein of 10 diamonds is about a 1 in 20,000 chance. So imagine how rare it is finding 3 of them together in one location. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.16.5 and type in this seed, then teleport to these coordinates, which are tens of millions of blocks away from spawn. The diamonds from this vein are enough to make a full set of armor with even some to spare. I recommend mining out the area or downloading an X-ray texture pack to fully see the size of it. And if you enable chunk borders, you can also see how each group of 10 is cut off by the chunk corners. You can also see how there's one chunk which is missing diamonds. While this is the largest vein that has ever been found pre 1.18, it's possible that it can be even larger. If that area spawned with another 10 diamond vein in the chunk corner, it would make a 40 block vein. This is the theoretical limit of diamond veins pre 1.18, but no one except this seed finder has ever come close to finding it. If you're wondering why I keep saying pre 1.18, it's because 1.18 changed world generation and the way that diamonds generate. After 1.18, it's actually possible to find more than one diamond vein per chunk, and much larger veins have been found than the 30 block one. But anyway, this 30 block vein was the largest found in all versions up until 1.18. Sheep come in many colors, but as most people know, the rarest one you can find is a pink sheep. Every sheep has a 0.164% chance of spawning as a pink sheep, which means that only 41 out of every 25,000 sheep will be pink. This is why this seed is extremely strange. In 2016, a user called the Punslinger64 made a post on Reddit where he claimed he found a plains biome with pink sheep everywhere. This post became fairly popular back in 2016, and even YouTubers like AntVenom made videos about this phenomenon. So to see this, you need to go on Minecraft 1.11 and type in this seed, and you can find them all over spawn. I was curious to see just how many pink sheep there were, so I used a command to teleport all the nearby sheep to me, and I started counting the ones that were pink. Also, you might be wondering why the sheep are always pink in this world, and the reason for that is that most mobs are randomly generated, but in the spawn chunks, there are some set mobs that are guaranteed to spawn in each seed. That's why this seed always guarantees that the pink sheep will spawn. Anyway, after I did the counting, I found that there were 78 pink sheep in this plains biome, but you can already tell that something is off from that number. Remember how I said that 41 out of every 25,000 sheep are pink? Well, if this plains biome has 78 pink sheep, it means it needs around 47,561 normal sheep to spawn for this to happen, and this plains biome definitely doesn't have 47,000 sheep. So the explanation for this has already been established by others. In this version of the game, there was an old bug where sometimes groups of sheep would repeat with the same colors. So if a herd has 2 white sheep and a brown sheep, then every other herd will also have 2 white sheep and a brown sheep. So most likely what happened here was that the extremely rare sheep managed to spawn once, so the bug made it so that all the other herds in this biome had a pink sheep as well. Either way, this seed has the most pink sheep that have ever been found in a single location, and this will probably be the most ever found for a long time, seeing as no one's really interested in finding more than this. In late 2022, a Reddit user called BeefyNad used a program called Cube Biomes to search through billions of seeds to find the largest jagged peaks biome at spawn. This resulted in BeefyNad finding a lot of seeds with long mountain ranges, but there was one which was much longer than the rest. This mountain range stretches for over 1,500 blocks, and to my knowledge, these are the longest connected mountains that have ever been found in Minecraft. To see it, you need to go on Minecraft 1.19 and type in this seed. These mountains go on for so long that you can't even see the vastness of them unless you put your render distance to the max, and even then I had to use Lunar Client to make my render distance even larger than usual. I apologize for the lag in this part of the video, but it's the only way to show most of these mountains on the screen at once. It's a very interesting sight, and someone in the comments of the Reddit post described them as the Himalayas of Minecraft, which I completely agree with. It's unknown whether anyone will find a larger mountain range, but since biomes don't really have a limit on how big they can be, anything is possible. When you imagine a nether fortress, you usually think of long hallways and corridors, with nether wart rooms and stairways that lead to different areas. But there are times when fortresses can be tiny. For this anomaly, I want to talk about a certain nether fortress which was found in late 2022 by Dylan DC14, who's a well-known seed finder that's found many anomalies in the past. To my knowledge, this fortress currently holds the record for the smallest one that still has 2 blaze spawners. Other than that, all it has are 3 small walkways. To see this for yourself, you need to go on Minecraft 1.16.5 and type in this seed, then enter the nether and teleport to these coordinates. As you can see, this fortress is unusually small, and finding something like this is incredibly rare. I guess this is the only time when you really earn the achievement a terrible fortress. But yeah, anyway, I just want to say huge props to Dylan and the other seed finders throughout this video, because without them we wouldn't have any of these cool seeds. A couple months ago, someone called DamnDuck from the seed finding server Minecraft at Home sent me a message on Discord about a few seeds they found and wanted to share for the Anomalies series. The 2 seeds that DamnDuck showed me had the 2 tallest woodland mansions that have ever been found in Minecraft, and they haven't been released to the public yet. So before I continue with this anomaly, I want to thank DamnDuck for finding these, because I wouldn't have been able to show them otherwise. So first, I'll start with the second tallest mansion. Even though this one isn't the tallest, it's still extremely impressive. Something that's interesting about this is that if you look at it from a certain point of view, it almost looks like one of those clickbait thumbnails. But if you see it from the other side, you can tell that it's connected to a mountain. So this mansion reaches a Y level of 263, and this is insane considering that dark forests aren't even supposed to generate high enough for a mansion to be that tall. Overall, this is extremely impressive, but now it's time to see the tallest. At Y 274, this mansion is the tallest of all time as of now. It looks very grand and imposing. Overall, this seed took DamnDuck about 11 months of on and off searching to find using code. So I mentioned that dark forests can't usually generate this high up, so you may be wondering how these seeds are possible then. Well, DamnDuck told me about the method he used, which I'll briefly explain. So I'll use a miniature diagram to explain this. Pretend this dark oak wood represents a dark forest biome. Dark forests can usually only generate up to a certain height, which means that mansion generations are limited in height. However, there is something that can make them taller. The windswept savanna biome is known to generate up to extreme heights, but this biome obviously can't spawn woodland mansions. But something it can do, in rare circumstances, is take up its neighboring biomes up to its height. So pretend this acacia wood block is a windswept savanna biome, and it generates next to the dark forest biome. Because it generated next to it, it has a small chance of bringing the terrain generation of the dark forest up with it. So what DamnDuck searched for with his code were these conditions. A windswept savanna biome, a dark forest next to the windswept savanna. The dark forest goes up with the windswept savanna. A mansion spawns on the dark forest. Using this process, DamnDuck was able to find the tallest mansion and many others. If you want the seeds and coordinates to these 2 mansions, you can pause now and copy them down. And if you don't want to do that, I've also posted them in the description for ease of access. I'm sure we've all come across relatively small biomes. Sometimes they're only a couple of chunks big, and some people have even found ones only a couple of blocks wide. But these tiny biomes can get even smaller. Not many people know this, but there's an extremely rare phenomenon where a whole biome can be only 1 block wide. That means that stepping on this 1 block will tell you in the F3 menu that you're in a different biome. Not many such cases have been recorded, as it's not something people notice, but it has happened. For example, earlier this year in January, a Reddit user called Sarah Was Farah discovered a seed with a biome that's only one block across. As you can see, there's a single pillar of ice that extends upwards with ocean all around. This ice pillar is actually a whole frozen ocean biome, which is only one block wide. For reference, I used the locate command to find the closest other frozen ocean on this world, and as you can see, it's very different. Frozen oceans usually have icebergs, snow, polar bears, and sheets of ice covering the ocean, but this frozen ocean is just one small tower of ice. But despite this being a one block wide biome, this isn't actually the smallest they can get. Even though this frozen ocean is one block across, it actually goes downwards for many blocks, which means that there are biomes which can be even smaller. So you're probably already wondering, is there a biome that is 1 by 1 block big? Just one block and everything else around it is a different biome? And the answer to that is yes, there is, but the only ones that I've been able to find online are on 1.18 experimental snapshots, which don't count in my opinion. 1 by 1 block biomes definitely do exist, but they obviously weren't significant enough for anyone to report on, and most people wouldn't even notice them. But if you want to see this frozen ocean anomaly for yourself, you can pause here and copy down the seed and coordinates. And if not, I've also included the seed in the description as well. This next anomaly involves abnormal witch huts. Each one is in a different seed, and they're all equally as strange in my opinion. So, we'll start with a witch hut that has the longest legs. This witch hut was found by Damn Duck, the same person who found the tallest mansions. This witch hut currently has the record for the longest legs, and its longest one measures at 117 blocks from the base of the hut. And as you can see, Damn Duck used the windswept savanna method to find this as well. Also, this isn't actually the tallest witch hut of all time, but the ones that are taller are situated on high up land, which means they don't have such long legs. Because of its extremely strange appearance, this may be the weirdest witch hut that has ever been found. Moving on to the second one, this next witch hut was also found by Damn Duck. For some reason, this one has no legs whatsoever, which is extremely weird, as every witch hut is supposed to have legs. And I wasn't able to find any other seeds online with a legless witch hut. While this doesn't look as visually striking as the previous one, it's still something that you'll probably never come across as it's so unusual. The final witch hut anomaly was found by the seed finder Dylan DC14, who's found many anomalies on his channel which I'll link below. The hut itself looks perfectly normal, but what makes this an anomaly is its location. This is the only witch hut that has ever been found to generate in the middle of an ocean without any swampland whatsoever. While this is technically a swamp biome, as you can see by the color of the water, strangely no land has generated other than this witch hut and some lily pads. What makes this impressive is because of how rare it is for no land to generate in a swamp, and on top of that, it's completely surrounded and blended in with the ocean. If you want to see more cool seeds like this, Damn Duck's Reddit account will be in the description, and same with Dylan DC's YouTube channel. These 3 seeds are also on screen now if you want to copy them down, or simply get them from the description below. The seed was commented by a viewer called Samroy9566 in my previous Anomalies video. In this comment, Samroy said that this seed, during 1.20 pre-release 1, will make it so that you'll always get 6 skulls in a row from wither skeletons. This is because during this version, they added seed-specific loot sequences, meaning that mobs will always drop the same loot on the same seed. For reference, a single wither skeleton has a 2.5% chance of dropping a skull. That means that having the first 6 drop it in a row is an almost inconceivably low chance. And you can actually spawn the wither skeletons in yourself and try this. The thing about this anomaly is that it's so specific that I'm surprised anyone looked for it and found it. I don't know whether Samroy is the original finder of this seed, but I couldn't find any other mention of it online other than a random message on the Minecraft at Home Discord server saying that someone called Dr. Bolin found it. So feel free to correct me if I'm wrong with the credits. And if you want to try this for yourself, the seed is on screen now, and of course in the description as well. This seed was found by Dylan DC14 in January of 2022, and it features a unique underground village. This house specifically blends in surprisingly well with its surroundings, and it almost looks like a modded Minecraft world generation. This house generated in a lush caves biome, and seeing this makes a good argument as to why underground villages should exist in Minecraft. The rest of the village generated even further below, but it isn't nearly as aesthetic as this single house, which I'm calling the lush house. This may actually be the coziest house that's ever generated in Minecraft. There isn't too much else to say about this seed, but if you want to check this house out for yourself, you can copy the seed from here or from the description. A water house. That is all this seed is. This anomaly was once again found by Damduck, who's currently carrying this video with all his finds. Damduck came across this water house in January of this year and made a Reddit post about it. This seed has a villager house which is completely enclosed on all sides by water. Nowhere on the internet is there another villager house like this, so it's a completely unique anomaly. The theory as to why this happened is because a small lake generated on the same position as the house, which caused them to collide. Even though it's not the craziest looking anomaly, it's still very bizarre and deserves to be in this video because of its rarity. If you want to see the water house for yourself, the seed is on screen now and in the description. This anomaly involves a certain pillager outpost that was discovered in June of 2022 by a Reddit user called Sensitive Knob. What makes this outpost so special is that there are 9 cages that surround it, and 12 structures in total if you include the 2 log piles and the tent. This outpost currently holds the record for the most cages, and this is more impressive than you may think. According to the Minecraft wiki, pillager outposts have a 1 in 13 chance of spawning surrounding structures, which means that each structure has a 7.69% chance of generating. Out of all the surrounding structures, there are 6 different ones that an outpost can have. These are the following: a cage that can have an iron golem, a cage that can have allays, logs, scarecrows, tent variant 1 and tent variant 2. So as this pillager outpost generated with 9 cages, it means that it's an extremely rare phenomenon. What's even more interesting is that not only did it generate with 9 cages, but as I mentioned, it also has 3 other surrounding structures. That means that this single outpost generated with 12 surrounding structures in total. To put that into perspective, outposts usually only have 3 to 4 surrounding structures in total. The wiki says that the maximum surrounding structures of an outpost is 15, but this has a very low chance of happening as the odds get exponentially harder the more structures there are. So unless there's a seed hunt for this, it's unlikely that anyone will ever find an outpost with 15 structures, let alone 15 cages. And if every cage had a golem or ally, that would make it even more rare. If this was ever found, it would be the ultimate outpost anomaly. If you want to see this rare outpost for yourself, then type in this seed on screen. As always, it's in the description as well. This is another seed that was found by Dylan DC14, where he found a mysterious stronghold island in July of 2022. This island has 4 sections of the stronghold, which are completely exposed, and it looks like the ruins of an old civilization that lived on the island long ago. The position of the stronghold isn't the only thing that makes this island an anomaly. If you go underwater, you can see that it's not a true island at all. It's a weird piece of land that is floating above an ocean monument, and its strange shape almost makes it seem as if someone used World Edit to spawn it in, rather than being naturally generated. There's all sorts of strange things about this island, and if you want to explore it for yourself, the seed is up on the screen now and in the description down below. In November of 2023, a Reddit user called SwatTC made a post showing a minecart and a mob spawner fused together. Many people in the comments, along with myself, have never seen anything like this. Not to be confused with the actual minecart spawner, because this seed has the naturally generated version. Another Reddit user in the comments called Not Bankrupt Yet did the calculations and found that there's a 1 in 4,836,000 chance of this occurring. Whether the calculations are accurate or not, this is a very rare event, as there aren't many mentions of this online. I did some more research and it turns out there was another post about this phenomenon by a Reddit user called Bridging Noob in July of 2022. So this is something that's been in the game for a while now, and it was probably never fixed because of how obscure it is. I don't have extensive knowledge about world generation, so if anyone wants to explain why this happens, feel free to do so in the comments. And if you want to check out these 2 seeds for yourself, they're on screen now and in the description below. Last month, a user called M33Galaxy sent a message in the Minecraft at Home Discord server talking about the longest natural fall in Minecraft. Using a world generation bug at certain far out coordinates, M33 found a seed that has a total drop of 323 blocks before touching the ground. To put this into perspective, the old world height limit was 256 blocks, so this drop is taller than any Minecraft world pre 1.17. This seed is actually on Bedrock Edition, but you could probably already tell that by the lag and the scenery. I'm just kidding, I love you Bedrock players. But as you can see, the world generation at these coordinates is a mess, and because of this vertical cliff, it allows for a drop that would otherwise be impossible. To get the longest possible fall, you'll need to aim towards the base of the cliff and land in this small pocket of lava, which will bring you all the way down to bedrock layer. This anomaly is only possible because of a combination of the high biome generation, this tree, and the crazy glitch that happens at these coordinates. When world generation glitches like these are patched, this fall will no longer be possible. But right now, Bedrock Edition is on update 1.20.80, and this still works as of the time of recording. Also, M33 said that if an outpost are generated at these coordinates, it may be possible for a 338 block drop, but seed finding programs can't search for that on Bedrock. The seed for the longest fall is now on screen, so make sure you check it out if you want to experience this yourself, as I'm sure this type of world generation will eventually be fixed. If you travel 371,000 blocks in the end dimension, you may be surprised as to what you find, because there comes a point in Minecraft's terrain generation where the world simply stops. At these coordinates there are no more end islands, and you'll find the largest empty expanse of void in Minecraft. This long void stretches for 150,000 blocks, and the strange thing is, this appears naturally in the same place in every world on Java Edition. This anomaly came to my attention when a Discord user called Cygnus Kerman messaged me about it. So I did some more research into it, and I found an old Ant Venom video where he talked about this phenomenon. It turns out this massive void hole is actually a ring that forms around the entire world, and what's even stranger is there are more rings like this that periodically appear the further you go out. As I said, this anomaly appears in every world on Java Edition, from 1.14 all the way to the current update, which is 1.21. This means that this anomaly has been in the game for over 6 years, and you can find it in your own worlds as well. But for anyone wanting to get here, it would take days of flying and survival, so almost no one finds this naturally on their own. Now you might be wondering why this happens. Well, it has to do with the End's world generation, and it turns out that at that distance, the numbers are too big for the world generator to handle, and so it makes nothing there. This is an anomaly because it was never intended to happen, and its distance makes it something that almost no one will find. Now that we've seen this strange phenomenon, tonight we're going to dive into some more rare anomalies in Minecraft. I did a lot of research for this video to find anomalies from every corner of the internet, and unlike the void anomaly that appears on every world, this next one is one of a kind. For almost 15 years, Minecraft usernames have had a restriction. They can only be up to 16 characters long, and there's absolutely no way to get a name that's longer than this. However, what if I told you that out of 300 plus million Minecraft accounts, there's only one username that's over 16 characters long? That account is called Evander Shreklik, and it has the world record for the longest username in Minecraft, being 19 characters long. The story of this account is very strange and mysterious, and it's actually the last illegal username that survived Mojang's purge over the last few years. And believe it or not, Mojang tried to fix this account at one point, but failed, which is the only time in history this has happened. But we'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, an interesting fact about this username is that because it's too long for Minecraft, it's unable to join multiplayer servers and will instantly get kicked out if it tries. When I heard this, I wanted to see what would happen if this account was brought into single player. I don't actually have access to the account, but I use a mod called Carpet, which allows me to spawn a copy of any player into my world. And as you can see, I'm able to spawn any player models just fine. But when I try and spawn Evander's account, my single player game crashes, which is insane if you think about it. This was something I didn't even know was possible, and it replicates what would happen if the account ever joined multiplayer, which goes to show how much of an anomaly this account is. One other cool fact about this account is that if you try and search its name on NameMC, it'll show up just fine, but if you enter it with even one less letter, it'll say that the name is too long to exist. So you may be wondering, how does this account even exist? And how did it survive the illegal username removals that Mojang has done over the years? Well, the origins of this account date back all the way to 2010. In the alpha days of Minecraft, there was a very brief period of time where you could have anything as a username. There were no restrictions at all. Not many people made long usernames at that time, but Evander was one of them that did. However, no one knows who the original owner of this account actually was, but what we do know is that the account has been abandoned for a long time, as it was never migrated to a Microsoft account. And this story gets even crazier, because as I mentioned, Mojang actually tried to fix this account by changing its name, but as you can see, this username username is still invalid to this day, which is the only time Mojang has done this, because every other username over 16 characters has had its name changed to something that's allowed. So originally, Evander's username was even longer than it is today, because it actually had spaces between the words as well, which brought its total character count to 22, making it the second longest name ever in Minecraft history. However, because spaces are illegal in Minecraft usernames because they can prevent people from being banned, Mojang went through every account with spaces in them and manually changed their usernames to either a temporary username, or sometimes they simply removed the spaces if the account name was available. So when a Mojang employee removed the spaces from Evander's username, the employee saw that no one else had the username Evander Shreklik without spaces, so it was given to the account, which of course no one could have that name because it's not valid. So Mojang ended up making this change without realizing that this account was still broken. As I said, Mojang has removed all other long usernames because they noticed that they were over 16 characters, but this was the only instance in which they didn't notice, and I can't blame them because most people wouldn't even realize that there could be a name too long for Minecraft. But anyway, this account is completely unusable because of its name, and because it was never migrated to a Microsoft account, it means that one day Microsoft will delete it along with every other unmigrated account. So this anomaly will be forever lost to history, but luckily it's still on NameMC as the last abnormally long username. And two last things to mention before we move on to the next anomaly. The first is that up until last year, there was one other account with an illegally long name. This was the 17 character name Crazy Biting Turtle, which was the only account in history that managed to migrate to a Microsoft account with a long username. However, this was brought to Mojang's attention, and this account had its name changed in June of 2023 to have one less character. And now the final thing. Do you remember how I said Evander's was the second longest name in Minecraft history? Well, believe it or not, there was once a username that was 112 characters long. This may seem insane, but it was once a reality. This account was called Timmy, with 45 spaces before the name and 62 spaces after. However, this name was changed to Timmy2 in early 2015, so this anomaly was mostly forgotten by history, as it's been a normal name for the past 10 years. But anyway, despite Evander's username being the last abnormally long name, there are a few more accounts that exist in Minecraft that are extremely rare and unusual in different ways, but we'll take a look at them later in this video. As for the next anomaly, it's something to do with a rare seed. Hey guys, Rovan from the future here to tell you something important about the previous anomaly. So you know how I said there's only one account with the longest username? Well, after getting some messages from people, it turns out there's actually 5 other names like this, with 2 of them being made by Mojang. And also, yes, I did say this account name wrong. It's actually pronounced Ivan de Schreckliche, and the spaces are like this. Sorry Germans. Anyway, let's continue with the next anomaly. Earlier this week, I received a message on Discord from DamnDuck, who's a seed finder that's found some insane anomalies featured in the previous part of this series. This time, DamnDuck told me about a phenomenon where a village generated inside of an ancient city. He found this strange occurrence in collaboration with a legendary seed finder, Dylan DC14, who's found many famous seeds such as the naturally lit nether portals. But finding a seed with a village inside an ancient city was thought to be impossible, because another well-known seed finder called Cracked Magnet tried to find it on Bedrock Edition, but concluded that it wasn't possible. But no one had yet tried on Java, so both Dylan and DamnDuck teamed up to take on the challenge. And after lots of searching, they finally found it. And not only did they find one seed with this, they used the code to find a few other ones as well. I'll put the seed of the one I'm on now on screen if you want to try it on 1.21. And I'll also put a link to Dylan's video in the description where he shows the other seeds as well. DamnDuck said they also tried to find a seed with more than 10 houses inside the ancient city, but they realized it was much too rare to search for because of the sheer amount of factors it takes to even generate a village in the deep dark, much less a large one. But huge credit to Dylan and DamnDuck for finding this, because it's something most people don't even think is possible. And honestly, I wish there were natural underground villages in Minecraft, because the concept has a lot of potential. Have you ever wondered what's the best chest loot that can naturally generate in Minecraft? By that I mean, is there a chest out there with a loot sequence so rare that it becomes an anomaly? Well, each chest from every structure, mineshafts, villages, the deep dark, etc., draws upon a loot table which shows how rare it is for each item to generate inside that chest. The final items that do generate inside the chest are called a loot sequence, and you can use commands to load in certain loot sequences that exist within the game, and that's by using something called loot seeds. If that doesn't make sense, then don't worry, because you'll see what I mean. So anyway, what you find in a chest is a loot sequence that's basically a completely randomized draw from the loot table. But out of all possible loot sequences that can exist in Minecraft, there are some which have loot that is seemingly impossible to naturally generate. But to find these, you can't just go around opening chests and hoping you get lucky. To locate the true rarest chests in Minecraft, you have to use programs to simulate world generation. And of course, that brings us to the legendary seed finding Discord server, Minecraft at Home. Recently, some users in the server have been pushing chest generation to the very limits to find the strangest chests that can naturally generate. And they created code that automatically searches through all possible loot seeds in Minecraft to find the strangest chests that can naturally generate. So this anomaly is about 3 separate chests which were found that have some of the rarest loot ever in Minecraft. And I want to give credit before I go into this, because all of these following finds were made by a seed finder called Chris. So again, all credit for these chests goes to Chris, because no one would have found them otherwise. So this is the first chest, and at first glance it seems pretty normal, right? That is, until you hover your cursor over this book. This chest contains one of the rarest naturally generated items that's possible in Minecraft. An enchanted book with 11 enchantments on it. This is so rare you could search for multiple lifetimes and never find a book even close to how many enchantments this has. At first I thought this should be impossible, and I'm guessing most players don't even believe such a thing exists. But to see it for yourself, go to any unopened stronghold library chest in spectator mode and then type in this loot seed command, which is in the description as well. Then go back on creative mode and open the chest, and you'll find the book. Also, make sure you don't open the chest before entering the loot seed, otherwise this won't work. Now you might be thinking, alright Rovent, this is just a command. Surely there's no seed out there with this chest. But that's exactly what this command does. It pulls a loot sequence from an ancient city chest that exists somewhere in Minecraft. So yes, the hunt for a seed that generates one of these chests is still ongoing, because you need to search millions of blocks across trillions of seeds to even find a single chest with this loot. So it hasn't been found as of yet, but this loot seed proves that it exists somewhere in Minecraft. In total, Chris's code found 24 loot seeds that load a loot sequence that has a book with 11 enchantments. These are the only 24 loot sequences in existence with books like this, because when Chris tried to find a sequence with 12 enchantments on a book, the odds were so low that it's practically impossible for it to exist. And if you're curious, here are the odds of you finding a book with 11 enchantments naturally in any stronghold library chest. 2 out of 2 to the power of 48, which is a 0.0000000000085% chance, which is basically impossible for someone to randomly find. But despite these chests being almost impossible to find, there's a chest that's even more rare. This next loot seed is an ancient city chest that contains 10 music discs. There are exactly 18 loot seeds that generate a sequence with 10 music discs, but Chris says that this one is the only one that generates with 5 other side music discs. To see this, go to an unopened deep dark chest and enter this loot seed, which is also in the description. The chances of you finding an ancient city chest with 10 music discs is 18 out of 2 to the power of 48. Again, almost impossible for any normal player. Now, despite the rarity of a chest like that, this final loot sequence is possibly the rarest anomaly I've ever seen inside Minecraft. This is a one-of-a-kind chest that contains a loot sequence where every single slot of the chest is filled with a regeneration 2 potion. Chris has dubbed this the medkit, and there's only one loot sequence like this in existence. So the chances of you finding this specific chest in an ancient city is a 1 out of 281 trillion, 474 billion, 976,710,656 chance. 1 out of 2 to the power of 48. And after running programs to scour the entirety of Minecraft's loot seeds, Chris confirms that this is the only one in existence with this loot sequence. And to see it, type in this command over an unopened ancient city chest. From what I saw on the Minecraft at Home server, there are many other plans to find other strange chests, such as one that may generate 14 enchanted golden apples. But that one hasn't been found as of yet, so I'll update you all on any developments that happen. And while an actual world seed that contains these abnormal chests hasn't been identified yet, somewhere out there are chests with a very bizarre loot. One of these chests could even be in your Minecraft world, millions of blocks away, hidden in the depths of an ancient city. This next anomaly might be familiar to some of you, because I talked about it in a video called The Rarest Events in Minecraft History. But the reason I'm also including it in this video is because it's so rare and unusual that I feel it needs to be a part of the Anomaly series as well. This is by far the rarest random death that's ever been recorded in Minecraft, and it goes like this. In 2013, a player called Delkick was playing a game of ultra hardcore on his friend's server. Everything was going normally, but Delkick found himself in a hard situation because he realized he was cornered near the world border and he was on low health. So he waited for his teammate to catch up to him so they could travel together. But what Delkick didn't know was that as he waited for his teammate to arrive, a spectator of the game who was in the Nether was making a Nether portal to return to the overworld. However, when the spectator built the portal, something very strange happened. When the spectator entered the overworld, Delkick was instantly killed by one of the obsidian pillars of the Nether portal, which just so happened to land on the exact same spot as him. And as I mentioned in my other video, this event is so extremely unlikely to happen to anyone that it's literally never happened again in Minecraft, even after 11 years, which goes to show anything is possible in this game. It's unknown who exactly has the oldest dog in Minecraft, because they would need to have it since early 2011, which was when wolves were first added to the game, and there are probably thousands of people who can claim they have the oldest dog. So what I'm going to be counting as the oldest for this anomaly is having a dog be alive for the longest time on a server that's continuously running, because rediscovering a 13-year-old dog on an old world isn't the same as having the dog survive for that long on a server that's always online. And since there's only a handful of servers that have been continuously online since 2011, we can actually narrow this down pretty well. When I was doing research for this anomaly, I came across a video talking about the oldest dog on 2B2T, and since 2B is one of the oldest servers still around from late 2010, it would make sense that there's a chance the oldest dog is on there. So this dog was called Wolfie, and it was originally tamed in late 2011 by a player called Willy Roof. What's interesting is that Wolfie survived some crazy events throughout the server's history, such as multiple griefs and a journey over 1 million blocks, and I'd recommend watching the YouTube video talking about the life of Wolfie on the server. But anyway, Wolfie survived for almost 10 years on 2B, until he was eventually hidden by his owner in an unknown location for his own safety. However, one day, Wolfie mysteriously disappeared from the hidden location in March of 2020, and no one knows whether he was killed, if someone moved him, or if he was deleted by the server. Many believe the last option, because of a donkey dupe that was happening in the nearby area, which caused the server to delete a lot of entities. Whether Wolfie still exists on the server in some way is a mystery. However, if he was still around, he'd be 13 years old by this point. And as for whether there's an older dog than this on 2B, or on another old server like Minecraft Online, we just don't know. And unfortunately, verifying who actually has the oldest living dog in Minecraft is extremely hard, because the person may not even know the dog is that old, or maybe the dog has been forgotten entirely. But who knows, there may be a dog that's older than this, just sitting there in a remote location on 2B2T. As you may know, the account of Minecraft's creator Notch is shrouded in mystery. At this point, no one even knows if he still plays the game anymore, as the last time he made a public appearance was when he played with Dream in a video 3 years ago. And it's also a mystery if he's even migrated to a Microsoft account, as he doesn't have the migrator cape on his NameMC page. But all of this is beside the point. The greatest anomaly associated with Notch's account is the Notch apple. The story goes that upon death, Notch will always drop an apple as an Easter egg for whoever manages to kill him. This was hard-coded into the game and will always happen no matter whether there's an apple in his inventory or not. This apple was meant to represent the old Mojang logo, which originally had an apple for its branding. The reason this is an anomaly is because it's the only time in Minecraft history when a custom loot drop was coded in for killing a player. It only happened for one account and never again. But what might surprise you is that there's actually been a lot of a debate on this anomaly, specifically on whether this apple is still in the game or not. The reason for this is that Notch's apple has never been mentioned in any patch note, and some say it's entirely possible that it was removed when Notch left Mojang. Meanwhile, others point to Dream's video from a few years ago, where you can still see that the apple dropped when Notch died. Many see this as proof that the Easter egg still exists within the game, while others say that Dream coded a plugin so that the apple would drop as an Easter egg. So what's really the truth? Is Notch's apple still in the game? Well, I did my own research on this, and after a lot of digging, I finally uncovered what happened to this Easter egg. So this apple was added to Minecraft in February of 2010, and it wasn't removed immediately when Notch sold Mojang. Something that almost no one knows about is that Notch's account stopped dropping the apple since version 1.3.1 back in August of 2012. This was completely unintentional though, and Notch wasn't even aware that this was broken. The reason the apple mechanic broke in that update was because the server and client were merged. This means that before then, the apple code only worked on the client side of Minecraft, meaning that it would only drop in single player worlds. But when the client and server merged, it stopped working completely. There are videos out there of people using tools such as the Betacraft launcher to give themselves the username Notch to see if the Easter egg works, and the apple does drop before 1.3.1, but not afterwards. But eventually, the line of code for Notch's apple was completely removed from Minecraft in April of 2019 on update 1.14. However, there was no mention of it in the patch notes, so it's not surprising that people still thought it was in the game. So yes, while Notch's apple no longer exists, this was still a one-of-a-kind anomaly that was only there for one player. We've already seen the longest username in Minecraft, but now we'll take a look at some of the shortest, because the Minecraft website says the minimum characters for a username should be 3, but some players have managed to get names that are shorter than this. So first we have the 2-character names. Accounts with 2-character names are almost impossible to find because there's not many players who still use these accounts. And as with the longest username, the only way you could get 2-character names was if you created your account in Alpha Minecraft back in 2010. However, unlike the illegally long usernames, Mojang has never tried to change the short ones, probably because they don't break the game. But that still doesn't mean that these accounts are safe. 2-character names are infamous for being targets for hackers and account traders, and often sell for thousands of dollars, so Mojang has locked many of them because of illegal activities. Back in 2020, only 237 of these 2-character names remained, and 4 years later, there are even less that are usable. Despite these names being rare artifacts from a time long past, there are some usernames which are even more rare. These of course are the 1-character names. These names are so incredibly rare that most players don't even know they exist. There are even forum posts across the internet of people coming across these accounts in-game and being shocked that they exist. And the only known active accounts with 1-character names are G and 8. But despite these short names being anomalies, there are some accounts out there that are straight up illegal. Illegal usernames are names that have special characters within them that aren't normally allowed to be in usernames. These special characters include full stops, spaces, exclamation marks, and anything else that's not a number, letter, or underscore. And as with short and long usernames, these special characters could be registered as names during Alpha Minecraft. But what makes them illegal is the fact that they have the potential to wreak havoc in multiplayer. So these usernames could be used to evade bans, mutes, kicks, and any other punishments. Because of their illegal characters such as spaces, these accounts were impossible to ban with normal methods, which made it very annoying for server mods, because the only way to ban them was by finding their unique account ID and having an admin do the banning. I don't know whether anyone actually used these accounts to ban evade, or for any malicious purposes, but for some reason Mojang's attention was turned to them a few years ago. Maybe because of the many viral videos talking about these names. So Mojang went through and manually changed every single illegal username, just as they did with the long usernames. And so in May of 2020, Mojang committed the largest account purge ever in Minecraft history. No one knows exactly how many of these accounts had their names changed, because their name history was also wiped from NameMC's database. Clearly Mojang didn't like the fact that these usernames existed, so all of these rare anomalies were removed, including famous names such as $, awesomeness with 3 exclamation marks, and well-known accounts with spaces in their names. Mojang also locked some of these accounts due to trading and selling, which was popular at the time. And after the purge, all illegal usernames were changed. However, rumors spread within the community that not all of them were removed, and some players believed that there were some illegal accounts still in existence. And that was true. Mojang did forget to remove some accounts such as Daniel B with a space, which was discovered to have survived until a few years after the purge, but that was eventually changed as well. As I was researching for this video, I was wondering if there were any more of these illegal names that existed in the present day, but I couldn't find anything on the internet, and either no more of these accounts exist, or if they do, they're being kept a tight secret from the whole community for their own survival. As I was searching the internet for rare anomalies, I was wondering something. Is it possible for a player to get struck by lightning more than once in a row? Well, obviously it is possible, but I've never heard of it happening, because even being struck once is a 1 in 100,000 chance, so being struck more times consecutively should be extremely rare. But after doing some research, I came across a video with almost no views that claimed to have been struck by lightning twice. This player, who's called RTX Keros, was struck once, and then twice within a few seconds while being AFK in the same spot. But luckily he had armor on, so he didn't die. There's not much else to say about this anomaly, as it's only a short clip, but if you know of anyone who's experienced something like this, feel free to join the Discord server in the description and let me know, and I'll add it to the next part of the series. Many of you already know about Dinnerbone, the Minecraft developer who's responsible for many iconic features such as beacons, anvils, and name tags. Now the thing about Dinnerbone is that he has this running joke of being upside down on all his social medias. And you probably already know about the famous Easter egg he implemented, which is if you name any mob Dinnerbone, it'll turn upside down. But not many people talk about how insane it is that his actual in-game character is upside down as well. It's a unique anomaly because it's hard-coded into the game, and there are only 2 accounts in existence with this feature. spawner, being Dinnerbone, and one of his fellow Mojang employees called Grum, who decided to adopt this Easter egg as well. This anomaly's been in the game for so long that people forget how rare it actually is, and honestly, I kinda miss the days when Mojang developers had their own Easter eggs, because it's not something that happens anymore. I was watching a Camman18 video where he talked about an interesting section of the Minecraft wiki, which is the block distribution chart. Basically, this chart shows the height rarity for where any block can be found in Minecraft. Camman used this chart to show that having a lily pad spawn anywhere other than sea level, which is Y63, was a 1 in 10 million chance. So I checked this wiki out for myself and entered some other blocks to see how rare they would be to generate at different heights. And I found something interesting when I put mob spawners. So they pick up Y level -42, which means they're most common around that height. But at the very top of the logarithmic scale, there's a small spike at Y equals 190, which means there's a minuscule chance that a dungeon spawner can generate that high up. But the rate in which this generates is 0.0001 out of 100,000, which equates to a 1 in a billion chance for a spawner to generate that high up. I'll link the wiki in the description if you want to type in your own blocks and see how rare they are to generate at different heights, because there are probably even rarer chances for things to generate at certain heights somewhere in the wiki. But sadly, the wiki doesn't actually show any seeds with these rare occurrences. This next anomaly is another famous one. This of course is the account of deadmau5. Now if you don't know, deadmau5 is a musician who brought many of his fans to Minecraft and helped it grow in the early years. And he was also friends with Notch and even made a fan-made soundtrack for Minecraft at one point. Not to mention he also made a Minecraft server for his fans. So during beta 1.0, Notch created a completely custom skin with giant mouse ears and hard-coded it into the game to appear only for deadmau5's account. But as with many of these anomaly accounts, these special ears made deadmau5 a target for hackers, and someone eventually did hack into his account, but luckily deadmau5 regained access through Mojang. I'm not 100% sure what happened to the account afterwards, but I'm not sure if he still has his giant mouse ears. This is because NameMC doesn't display them on his account, and bringing his player model into single player with mods doesn't show them either, so either the code is broken, or it's been removed. The last time he was actually seen with the giant mouse ears was in 2020 after he recovered his account, and I couldn't find anything more recent, but they should still be on his account because there was no mention of them being removed, but unless he logs on again, we can't know for sure. Duplicate accounts were anomalies that existed up until a few years ago. However, unlike the other strange accounts in this video, duplicate accounts were created in much more interesting ways. The first way a dupe account could be made was during May of 2018, when a problem with Minecraft's database caused some accounts to get deleted. During this time, for about a week, new players were allowed to claim names that already existed on old accounts. When Mojang finally restored the accounts that were deleted, they left the duplicate accounts that were made during this time. But because there were only 116 dupe accounts that were made at that time, it wasn't too much of an issue, because the chances would still be very slim for any of them to meet on the same servers, and so Mojang let it slide. Then came the next method of making dupes. This happened when account selling became mainstream in late 2010s, when two account snipers called MC Sniper and Cheerful Ninja were spamming the Minecraft name change website to try and claim rare usernames as soon as they became available. The reason the snipers did this was to sell the account names to players who wanted it. However, very rarely the snipers would claim the same name at the exact same time, which caused them both to get the name. But again, this was a very rare occurrence. Then came the final method of duping. This exploit was kept secret for a while, but if you spammed account creation with gift codes, you could create multiple Minecraft accounts with the same name, but with different IDs. These accounts could then be changed to different names as well, and basically it was a free Minecraft account generator, which led to a player called Daka having 74 accounts with the same name. And this was the most duplicated name in Minecraft history, but obviously this was patched when Mojang found out about it. And finally, some of you may even remember Dream's video about the duplicate accounts called Smidge, who were the most famous of the dupes. But of course, once this phenomenon went viral, Mojang took notice and changed all of these account names a few years ago during the account purges. But despite this anomaly being a thing of the past, it's still very interesting and rare, and only affected a very small amount of names. High win streaks are anomalies that people don't normally talk about. Being able to win hundreds, if not thousands of games in a row is the ultimate show of skill in any game, especially when there's hackers and snipers everywhere. So, here's the story of the highest win streaks ever in Hypixel Bed Wars history. In September of 2017, Technoblade set the world record for the highest Bed Wars win streak with 500 wins in a row, easily beating the previous record of 374. Then he reached 600, 800, 900, and then 1,000 wins in a row. Finally, with his skill and the help of his team, he reached 1,400 wins in October of that year. But then, Techno realized something. He was basically trapped by his own win streak, because he could only play when his teammates were online, and he wasn't having fun anymore after he reached 1,000 wins. So he threw it all away in a solo game by falling into the void in late October. But then, in January of 2018, a new Bed Wars record was emerging. This player who tried to get the highest streak was called Dephone, and he was actually Techno's friend, so Techno decided to help him get the record by joining his team, alongside with some other great players. And finally, in March of 2018, they eventually passed Techno's record, and reached a win streak of over 1,800. But at that point, Dephone was getting bored of the win streak since the 1,500 mark, and so they decided to throw it away. They first played some Bed Wars games without weapons to see if they could lose, but then they kept winning, so they let another team break their bed, and they all jumped into the void. Dephone's final win streak was 1,818, and is still the highest win streak of all time. These two win streaks from Techno and Dephone are anomalies because they'd be almost impossible to get today. The reason is that now there are entire groups of snipers who target players with high streaks, so it's hard for anyone to get such a large win streak again. Not to mention that the skill level of casual players has increased exponentially since the 2010s, and most players today have many years of experience and mastered techniques such as speed bridging. And ever since those two records were set by Techno and Dephone, the entire community was inspired to become better players to see who can gain the biggest streaks. And while some have come close, they were still hundreds away from reaching Techno and Dephone streaks. Some other players have used hacked clients to try and beat the record, but they use hacks like Vape Client, which is a ghost client, meaning that they use subtle hacks so it's not blatantly obvious that they are hacking, so they can bypass the anti-cheat. And a lot of other players have been straight up paying the sniper groups so they don't get targeted when they have a high win streak. But anyway, these two streaks by Techno and Dephone have remained the highest and are anomalies because of how much skill is required to get to that point, especially nowadays. Congratulations, you found the secret Easter egg. So if you're seeing this, comment the words rare anomaly sandwich to confuse people in the comments. Anyway, back to the video. In September of 2019, a YouTuber called Kilo Crazy Man decided he was going to walk to the Firelands in survival. And though many had tried in the past, no one had ever made it there, as the Firelands were located at 12.5 million blocks from spawn. But Kilo was determined to be the first to reach them. So for 9 months straight, Kilo traveled through thousands of biomes, surviving every challenge imaginable. And he did this all without sprinting, because the version with the Firelands is so old, sprinting wasn't even in the game. But he wasn't the only one on this journey. By this point, several others had started their own expeditions towards the Firelands, with everyone wanting to be the first to get there. But finally, in June of 2020, after over 1,200 hours, Kilo reached the Firelands. His final livestream was watched by over 14,000 people, and even Notch himself was watching this, and donated $10,000 as a reward to Kilo for being the first to walk there, which immortalized him in Minecraft history. And since Kilo, others have started reaching the Firelands as well, and now there are over 30 people who've made the journey on foot, and others are still on their way there. Kilo's journey to the Firelands is an anomaly because of how distant and difficult they are to get to, and the sheer dedication it took for him to get there in such a short time. So tonight, we're going to take a look at some more rare anomalies in Minecraft. I hope you all enjoy. Until 2021, Minecraft capes were exclusive cosmetics that almost no one had. However, in the last few years, they've gone from being elusive and rare to accessible for every player, which means now it's easier than ever to become a collector. This anomaly is about the player who's collected the most capes in Minecraft. So let's briefly go through the Java capes. First, we have the common capes. These are the 7 capes that have been released since 2021, with the most common being the Migrator cape, owned by over 5 million accounts, while the least common is the MCC cape, which is is owned by 85,000 accounts. Next, we have the rare capes. These are the Minecon capes from 2011 to 2016 and are only owned by a few thousand accounts each, with the 2016 cape being the most common and the 2011 cape being the rarest. Then we have the ultra rare capes, which are the Mojang, Realms Mapmaker, Scrolls, Cobalt, and Translator capes. The owners of these capes range from a few hundred to only a handful. This also includes the Valentine cape, which is an anomaly of its own, which I'll talk about later in the video. And finally, we have the one-of-a-kind capes, which are only owned by a single individual each. So out of all normal players, meaning everyone excluding Mojang employees, is currently a tie between two people who have the most capes. The first of these is the YouTuber Antvenom, and the other is a Twitch streamer named Jeff. Both players are of the few that have every Minecon cape, but on top of that, they both have every common cape as well, which brings their total number of capes to 12 each, and this is the most capes any normal player can realistically get. So the reason I left out Mojang employees is because the player with the most capes is a Mojang employee named Mark. Mark's account owns 18 different capes, making it the most out of anyone in Minecraft, those being the 3 Mojang capes, all the Minecon capes, and every common cape. But what's surprising is that somehow he also has 3 other ultra rare capes, being the Scrolls, Cobalt, and Realms Mapmaker capes. No one knows how he got those last 3 capes, because they're so rare that only a handful of people have them. Also, Mark sometimes posts about capes on Twitter, so he's definitely a collector, meaning that it would be incredibly difficult for anyone to surpass him, as many other Mojang employees don't really care that much about collecting capes. Also, what's interesting is that Mark could have even more capes on his account, but if he hasn't worn them, then they won't show up on Name MC, so who knows how many capes he could really have. The more chunks you load in your Minecraft world, the larger its file size becomes. That's why, if you've played a world for many years, you may have noticed that it's become several gigabytes in size. But what's the largest Minecraft world file in the world? Well, I searched across the internet to find an answer, and I first came across a forum post of someone asking the same question back in 2020. They mentioned that they once saw someone who had a 74 gigabyte world file, and asked if anyone had ever seen a world that was larger than this. Then someone else replied and claimed they hosted a survival server with a world that was 118 gigabytes in size. So clearly, there's a big difference between single player and multiplayer worlds, because on servers, multiple people can load in chunks and increase the file size. Now, when you think of big servers, you may think of Hypixel, but that doesn't apply to this situation, because Hypixel's network is split among many smaller world files, and what we're looking for is the single largest world file. That means we need to look at servers that have been on the same world for a long time. So I looked at the oldest survival server in Minecraft, called Minecraft Online, which has been running on the same world since August of 2010. I thought this could have the largest world file, but I found out the world's only a few dozen gigabytes in size because of the limited world border at 21,000 blocks. So that rules that out. After that, there was only one more server I could think of, 2B2T, the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft. It has unlimited travel, with people creating highways that stretch in all directions, and a history of hacks that have allowed people to travel millions of blocks. So, if any server can qualify for the largest world file, it has to be 2B. And it is. 2B2T's world file is currently 47.7 terabytes in size, or 47,700 gigabytes, according to their website. This is by far the largest world file I could find anywhere online, and since there are hundreds of people constantly loading in new chunks, it means that 2B2T's world file will continue to grow in size as the years go on. You can change your Java username once every 30 days, but what's interesting is that there isn't actually a limit on how many times you can do this. So in theory, every month you can choose a new username and do this repeatedly for as long as you want. But most players only go through 1 or 2 name changes, because no one would recognize them if they kept changing it constantly. But there are some people who purposefully change their usernames an abnormal number of times. So, who has the most name changes in Minecraft? Well, there are actually 2 contenders for the most name changes, and either one of them could be the one with a world record, depending on how you look at it. So first, we have a player who's currently called Flamox. This player has been constantly changing their username for over 9 years straight, and Flamox has been so consistent that they haven't missed a single month of name changing since the start of 2015, which has led to this player having a total of 115 name changes. This is the world record for legitimate name changes. However, there's one other player that can be considered an even bigger anomaly. That player is called Gerd, and what's strange about them is that on NameMC, this account says it only has 11 name changes. However, if we go on a website called Laby, this account is listed as the world record holder with 120 total name changes. On top of that, Gerd somehow managed to have 42 of those name changes in a single day. So what's really going on here? How is this even possible? Well, I asked on a Discord server that knew about this sort of stuff, and apparently there are two ways this could have happened. The first was if a Mojang employee purposefully changed this username multiple times in one day. And the second way was if the account owner created many support tickets to have their name manually changed by Mojang. And the reason all these name changes don't show up on NameMC is because the changes happened so fast that Gerd never logged into Minecraft with most of them, so they weren't registered in the NameMC database. So now you see, either one of these two players could have the most name changes in Minecraft, but I would say that Flamox has the true world record because of the owner's consistency in changing the name every month for almost a decade. Also, since Gerd hasn't changed their username in over a year, it's safe to say that Flamox will soon overtake the record anyway. Also, what's surprising is that there are several others racing for the most username changes, with many other players starting to reach the 100 mark. No one knows the motivations behind these numerous name changes, because there's no reward and little recognition for having the most, but it's safe to say that this will continue to go on as long as people can change their usernames. Account UUIDs are unique identifiers of alphanumeric text that have 36 characters, and every ID is completely unique to each Minecraft account. So essentially, while your username can change multiple times, your ID will never change, and it can be used to locate your account no matter what happens to it. But despite account IDs being randomly generated, some players have noticed some IDs which are extremely abnormal and shouldn't even be possible. So this anomaly is about some of the strangest IDs that exist in Minecraft's database. First, let's talk about the accounts with invalid IDs. These 11 accounts all have UUIDs which shouldn't be possible, but what makes them invalid? Well, Minecraft uses version 4 of variant 1 UUIDs, which I don't know too much about, but if you put your own unique ID into a validator, it'll confirm that you have a valid version 4 ID. But if you enter one of these invalid IDs, it'll still say that it's valid, but not version 4 like every other ID. So basically it is invalid for Minecraft. You may have also noticed that some of these accounts with these IDs are temporary usernames, which means that Mojang has something to do with this. The only way an account can have an invalid ID is if it's manually added to the Minecraft database, rather than being naturally generated. So these accounts were made by Mojang employees, and the exact reason is unknown, but we can assume it was for testing purposes. Invalid IDs aside, there are also some naturally generated IDs with extremely rare features. For example, the account called Lily Pilly has a UUID that's only numbers. Keep in mind that this ID is valid and naturally generated, meaning it's an extremely rare anomaly, as IDs are supposed to be alphanumeric, meaning with both numbers and letters. So, because this is natural, I did some research to find out how rare it is, and it turns out that for a UUID to be only numbers, it's a 1 out of 2,658,456 chance, and since there's about 300 million Minecraft accounts in existence, it means that there should be about 113 accounts that exist with IDs that are only numbers. Now that we've seen this, you might be wondering, how much rarer could player IDs possibly get? Well, what about UUIDs with the most consecutive numbers in a row? Let's look at the accounts Captain__Unicorn and Malteser McFlurry. These are the only known accounts that have 8 consecutive numbers in their IDs. Captain has 8 5s in a row, while Malteser has 8 8s. Again, these are naturally generated and valid IDs as well, and despite being unbelievably rare, there's one more account which is even more unusual. That is the account named Phantom, who's the only known account with 9 repeating consecutive numbers in their ID. These numbers are 9 5s all in a row. This is completely unprecedented and an insane anomaly. However, I couldn't find any information on how rare this actually is, so if anyone knows, feel free to let us know as well in the comments or on the Discord. But anyway, these unique ID anomalies affect the game in no way whatsoever, but are interesting phenomena because of how rarely they occur, and who knows what other strange IDs could exist in Minecraft's database, or will be generated in the future. Which YouTuber has the longest Let's Play series in Minecraft? Throughout the years, many people have uploaded abnormally long Minecraft series to YouTube. One of the longest series which comes to mind is Ethos Labs' 588 episode Let's Play series that has been running for over 13 years. We also have Stampy's Lovely World, which was a series that ran for 11 years, with a total of 823 episodes. There's also Kurt's Firelands or Bust series, where he slowly walks towards the Firelands and raises money for charity. And this series started in 2011 and currently has 860 episodes. All of these Minecraft series are anomalies due to their sheer length, and it would take several months for any normal person to watch them from the beginning. But what many don't know is that the longest Let's Plays of all time are far longer than these. The third longest is Xisumavoid's Hermitcraft series, which is currently on episode 1183 and has been running for over 12 years. His episodes vary in length, but are generally between 20 to 40 minutes long. The second longest Minecraft series was from a famous YouTuber called Gronk, who started his Let's Play in October of 2010 until it ended in 2014, with the series having a total of 1,251 episodes, with each episode being about 20 minutes long. And what's even more impressive is that this series averaged hundreds of thousands of views on every episode, with many gaining millions of views as well. And fun fact, right after this series ended, Gronk made another Let's Play on a mod pack called Life in the Woods that went on for another 540 episodes. And the story would end here until I did some more research, which led me to find the true longest Minecraft Let's Play of all time. The channel with the longest Let's Play is called Rat Dog Videos, and this person has been consistently uploading his Let's Play series for over 8 years, and currently he's on episode 1378, with each episode being about 20 minutes long. What's insane about this anomaly is that this channel only has 1,000 subscribers and averages less than 100 views per video, despite having the longest Let's Play ever in Minecraft, and uploading regularly for almost 10 years. He even says that he's not making this series to gain subscribers, and he simply does it to share his gameplay with whoever's interested in watching. So this may be the most dedicated Minecraft YouTuber I've ever seen, and you can tell he's making videos simply because he loves the game. So huge props to Rat Dog, and it seems like his series will continue to be the longest Let's Play for the foreseeable future. I found an old forum post about the strangest things people had encountered in Minecraft, and one reply stood out to me. A user by the name of Mr. Enderman said that he once stumbled upon a forum post that had a seed with a certain desert temple that spawned an abnormal number of witches. To me, this just sounded like rumors that often spread in the old Minecraft community, so I didn't think too much of it. I mean, a desert temple that spawns lots of witches sounds incredibly strange, but I decided to do some research anyway, and that's how I went down a rabbit hole of old forum posts, all mentioning a phenomenon that was known as witch temples. From what I could find, these temples existed for a very brief period of time, from update 1.4.2 until 1.5.2, which was only about 8 months, and that's why most mentions of them have been completely lost to time. In fact, I struggled to even find a working seed with a witch temple, as many posts were deleted, and others had no seeds and coordinates. But there was one I was able to find. This came from a comment that was posted on Reddit 12 years ago that provided screenshots of a seed with witches spawning inside a desert temple. This seed is called Cellmate, and if you enter it on version 1.5.1 and teleport to these coordinates, you can find one of these witch temples. And at first, this may seem like a completely normal desert temple, but if you wait until nightfall, you'll start to realize that this temple spawns an unusual number of witches, almost as if there's a witch spawner hidden somewhere. The reason this happens here is because the desert temple generated on the outskirts of a swamp, and the part of the temple inside the swamp is thought of as a witch hut by the game. And this phenomenon could also happen with jungle temples as well. But as I said, this anomaly is so old that most mentions of it have faded away into obscurity, as it was fixed in update 1.6. However, there are some anomalies that are present even on the latest version of Minecraft. If you decide to travel far away from spawn on Bedrock Edition, you may start to notice that the world behaves strangely. This is because of something called a floating point precision error, which means that the further you go out, small gaps are created between the hitboxes of blocks, and at a certain point, world generation completely breaks down, which results in a place known as the Stripe Lands. So, here's exactly what happens if we travel this far out according to the Minecraft wiki. The first milestone in our journey is only at 1024 blocks. For any normal player, this distance seems completely normal, but because the game has started losing precision of the hitboxes, this is where it's first possible to fall through the world. Obviously at this distance it's an extremely unlikely chance, but this gets increasingly higher the further we go out. Not much happens for a while after, but at 16,384 blocks is when a slight jitteriness becomes noticeable by paying close attention to the game. However, most things are still completely fine at this point. Next, our journey takes us to 65,536 blocks. This is where the jitteriness gets a bit worse. However, for most people, this distance is still playable, and the glitches aren't too noticeable yet. At 131,072 blocks is where the jitteriness is now noticeable during normal gameplay. Nothing else breaks too much at this distance, but this is the last milestone where everything seems normal. From here on out, as we double our distance, the game begins to break down. At 262,144 blocks is the threshold where mobs start to become noticeably glitchy, and certain textures start to behave abnormally. Continuing on our journey, at 524,288 blocks, many game mechanics start to break. Paintings are pushed half a pixel into the blocks, meaning they'll stop rendering, and you can no longer move while in cobwebs. Also, mobs have troubles jumping onto blocks properly, and at this point, the floating point error has become very severe. If we double our distance again, we eventually pass 1,048,576 blocks. Past this point is when the textures of blocks themselves start to distort. Cakes appear a full block in size, iron bars become wider, and cacti start to look strange. But if we keep going and reach 2,097,152 blocks, movement speed becomes bumpy. At this point, items can fall through the world if they're being thrown at the edges of blocks, and you can no longer move while sneaking. After we double our distance again to 4,194,304 blocks, there's a high chance for us to fall through the world. This is because the floating point error has shrunk the player's hitbox nearly down to zero. But let's say we keep going and reach 8,388,608 blocks. This is when entities will start to fall through the world as well. And by now, most things in the game are completely broken. But let's keep going even further. Finally, we reach 16,777,216 blocks. This is where the stripe lands begin, a place where every second block is rendered. And this goes on until the end of the world, at 30 million blocks. However, on the corners, you can also find the sky grid, which is a combination of the X and Z stripe lands. So, these issues happen because Bedrock Edition still uses 32-bit floats, which were optimized for the old Pocket Edition engine, which didn't have infinite worlds, unlike Java Edition, which uses 64-bit floats. These long-distance anomalies are why many don't recommend traveling far out on Bedrock Edition. But hopefully one day this gets fixed and works like Java, where the world works properly in all directions. The first part of this anomaly is about illegal NBT items. NBT data, also known as item components, are properties that can change the way items work. I will send a creative hotbar full of these illegal items from a user on Discord called The Real Jesus, and I'll show you all just a few examples of these illegal items. So here we have left and right chests, powered redstone, and petrified slabs. These items weren't intended to be used in the game, and are extremely interesting because you can even bring them to servers through saved hotbars in the creative menu. But illegal NBT items aside, there are also other types of illegal items. These ones can be obtained in survival, and usually involve illegal enchantments. Having illegal items naturally generate in the game is incredibly rare, and usually these get patched when Mojang notices. However, even on the latest version of Bedrock Edition, we can still find illegal items in chests. For example, a Reddit user called Tan Official found this seed, which has a woodland mansion chest that contains boots enchanted with efficiency 1, which shouldn't be possible, and this still works in 1.21. There are also other illegal items which existed in the past, specifically on Java Edition, such as helmets with incompatible enchantments or crossbows with duplicate enchantments that could be dropped by mobs. There were also ways to get petrified slabs in survival, which are also known as alpha slabs. These can be obtained by crafting them in extremely old versions and then updating the game. These petrified slabs look like oak slabs, however, they're fireproof and need a pickaxe to be mined. There's currently no way to get any of these illegal items on survival in the latest update, so you'd have to go back to old versions or use commands to get them. And finally, there's also illegal items that can only be made through commands, such as swords with abnormally strong enchantments. However, we won't get into them here because they're not as strange as the other illegal items which could be obtained in survival. And speaking of strange occurrences, let's move on to the next anomaly. What if you created a Minecraft world and found a naturally generated stack of chests? You may find it weird, and you'd probably be concerned about how it could have even happened, because there's no structure that generates stacked chests. So it's very interesting that across the internet, there are multiple instances of people encountering this rare phenomenon while playing in their worlds. Sightings of natural chest stacks go back several years and have confused many players, and most of these stacked chests occur underwater because ocean ruins can collide with buried treasure chests. However, this one is even more interesting because it's the only one I could find that generated completely on land. This seed was found by a Reddit user called Art the Beast, and at these coordinates, by digging into this hill, you can find 3 stacked chests. If you randomly dug and found this by chance, you'd probably think this was a player-made structure or a secret base, which is why it's so uncanny that it's naturally generated. I couldn't find the chances of this happening, so if you have any info on how rare this is, let us all know in the comments. People have also found 2 chests stacked on top of each other. So that raises the question, is it possible to find 4 or more stacked chests? Well, theoretically, if another structure like a shipwreck was to generate in the same location, there could be a stack of 4 or even 5 chests. So who knows, maybe this does exist somewhere in Minecraft. The Valentine Cape is possibly the strangest cape in Minecraft, because no one knows its true purpose and it's only ever been owned by 2 people, and both times it was taken away from them. So let's look at the strange story behind this anomaly. It all started in August of 2022 when players noticed a new cape had appeared on the NameMC website, and since there were no news of a new cape, many people became interested about how a player by the name of LolFoxy2 had obtained it. So after some people messaged Foxy on Discord, he revealed that he was given the cape as compensation because his account had issues with migration. The employee that gave LolFoxy this cape worked on Minecraft dungeons, where capes are extremely common, so the employee thought that giving Foxy the Valentine cape would be completely fine. But on Java, this was a one-of-a-kind cape that some people would spend thousands of dollars for. However, not long after Foxy started using the cape publicly, it was taken away from his account, after the Mojang employee realized how rare it actually was. And after it was taken away, Foxy himself said that the cape would be releasing publicly on Valentine's Day of 2023, but that turned out to be a rumor, because since then, the cape still hasn't been released to the public. So for a while, Foxy was the only one in Minecraft who ever had this cape. But then things got interesting when one day, people noticed a second owner of this cape appeared on NameMC. The only other known player with the Valentine cape is called Joingrave. Allegedly, Mojang support was helping Joingrave with an issue concerning the vanilla cape on his account. However, the Mojang employee misclicked and added the Valentine cape to his account instead. And again, once Joingrave wore this cape, it became registered in the NameMC database, meaning hundreds of thousands of players could see there was a new owner with a Valentine cape. So Mojang removed it once again. This means that 2 years after this cape was first leaked, it still hasn't been released to the public, and at this point, it's unknown whether anything will ever happen with this cape at all. But what's more interesting is that there could currently be a few more players with this cape. If another Mojang employee made a mistake in a support ticket by accidentally giving someone the Valentine cape, no one would know if the account owner didn't wear it, because it won't be logged in the NameMC database. So there could still be people out there that secretly have this cape, but won't reveal it so it doesn't get removed. On my search for anomalies, I came across a very interesting Reddit post from a few years ago, claiming to have found an abnormal dungeon. The screenshot was posted by a user named It's Franklin My Dudes, and this image shows a dungeon that shouldn't be possible. The spawner is surrounded on all sides by bedrock, and there are no chests in sight. This means that this dungeon has somehow generated at the very bottom of the world. When I went to try this for myself though, there was nothing there, so I was skeptical on whether this was even real or not, until I remembered something about previous seed anomalies. Sometimes the anomaly wouldn't generate if you loaded it in a certain way, and because this dungeon was near spawn and I had a high render distance, it means that I was loading it in straight away when I entered the seed. So I turned down my render distance to 2 and then teleported to the location, and there it was, proving that this dungeon was real. The seed for this anomaly is now on screen, and make sure to turn down your render distance when you load it, or it won't work. As for why this happened, the only thing I can think of is that this mineshaft, which is at bedrock level, made the world generation think there was a valid area to generate a dungeon. What makes this interesting is that this instance is the only mention of this anomaly that I could find online, and this is no longer possible in modern versions, because the world has become so much deeper since 1.17. Throughout the years, there's always been creepypastas about cursed seeds in Minecraft. But everyone knows seeds can't have paranormal activities within them. So don't worry, this anomaly isn't about creepypastas, but about a couple of seeds which have some very strange landmarks. So the first one was posted by a Reddit user called Demiki1, where they found a creepy smiley face in their world. This face was naturally generated by a ravine and two small lakes, and even though it's not harmful in any way, it is quite unnerving to look at. If you want to see this anomaly for yourself, the seed is on screen now, and you can find the creepy face right next to spawn. Next, we have a seed that was found by another Reddit user called I Am the Sacred Pot, which allegedly contains a naturally generated mountain monster. And by mountain monster, I don't mean an entity of some kind, but that this mountain looks eerily like a monster's face when viewed from a distance. And if you want to see this one for yourself, the seed is on screen now, and this is also located at spawn. So while there definitely aren't any Minecraft seeds that are haunted, things like this are probably the closest we'll ever get to real horror seeds. And since these landmarks are completely random, that means there may even be some in your worlds as well. So if you've seen strange things like this, make sure to join the Discord and post them there to be featured in the next video. Links in the description. On the 17th of November 2021, a seed finder named Mooing Cowmilk uploaded a video to his YouTube channel showing a seed with a very abnormal stronghold. For those who don't know, Mooing Cowmilk is famous for finding strange seeds, such as the infamous unbeatable lava seed, which spawns you in an underground lava pool that's impossible to escape. This time, Mooing Cowmilk found a seed which is even weirder than that. If we enter this seed on 1.16 and teleport to this location, you can see that we're inside the stronghold. Not much stands out at first, but you'll notice that there's water dripping everywhere, and that's because this stronghold is almost completely submerged underwater. But by itself, that's not too weird, except for some areas that are glitched with the water. But all of this is nothing compared to the end portal room. When we enter this room, the first thing that immediately stands out is that this end portal is glitched. That's because this portal generated on the border of a chunk, but this still isn't what makes the seed an anomaly. If I enter this portal right now, I'll find a naturally spawned Elder Guardian in the end with me. And if you're in survival, this is basically a death trap. So you're probably wondering how this can even happen. Well, as you can tell by zooming out, an ocean monument intersects with this stronghold, and the Elder Guardian spawn point just happened to perfectly align with this glitched end portal, which means that it creates this near impossible scenario where the Elder Guardian spawns directly inside the end. Finding this legendary seed was Mooing Cowmilk's idea, but it also took the effort of a few other seed finders to make it happen, and they're all credited in the description as well. And something else to note about this seed is that the Elder Guardian has a chance to spawn a few blocks away from the portal. So if you're trying this by yourself, you might need to reload the seed a few times before it actually spawns inside the portal. If you've watched episode 7 of this series, you might remember that I showed some of the best chests that can theoretically generate in Minecraft. One of them was this stronghold chest that generated with a book that has 11 enchantments on it, and the other was an ancient city chest that generates with every slot in it being a regeneration potion. These rare chests were all found by a seed finder named Chris, and he found them by using code to search through every single possible combination of the loot tables that exist in Minecraft. And these combinations are called loot seeds, so you can enter a command to fill an unopened chest with a specific loot seed that exists in the game, and that chest will generate the items from the loot seed. A loot seed existing basically confirms that a chest with these items can be found somewhere in Minecraft, but it could be millions of blocks away on a random seed, so the chances of someone finding a chest with such rare things are almost impossible. Now you might be wondering, why am I mentioning this anomaly again? Because I went through it in detail in episode 7 already. Well, as I mentioned, these chests could only be generated by entering a command to fill an existing chest with a loot seed, which only proves that these chests exist theoretically somewhere in Minecraft. And in that video, I also mentioned that Chris had an ongoing search for an ancient city chest with 14 enchanted golden apples in it, but it wasn't found yet. Okay, now that we're all caught up with the context, on December 30th, 2024, Chris ended up making a huge discovery. He, alongside 2 others, created an algorithm that was able to find real-world seeds from these theoretical loot seeds. Behind me is one of the real chests that Chris discovered with his algorithm, and it's located in this seed on version 1.21.4. But this isn't something that you can just randomly come across, because this chest is located at 9.5 million blocks away on the x-axis, and over 1 million blocks on the z-axis. So you might be wondering, what's inside this legendary chest? Well, take a look. This is the only known chest in all of Minecraft that generates with 14 enchanted golden apples. This makes this chest one of the greatest anomalies that's ever been discovered in Minecraft, because without Chris's algorithm, no one would ever travel to such a distance, let alone open this specific chest and find this. And this is so rare that to my knowledge, no one's even found half as many gapples in a single chest before. The most I could find online from a normal person were 6 gapples in a single chest. Now you might think it ends here, but there's actually another legendary chest that Chris found with his algorithm. This is the same chest from episode 7 that has every slot filled with regen potions. But instead of just a theoretical loot seed, Chris now has an actual world seed with this one-of-a-kind chest. To see it, we have to go on version 1.21.4 and enter this seed. Then we need to teleport to these coordinates, which are over 16.5 million blocks away on the x-axis and over 10 million blocks on the z-axis. And when we open this chest, you can see that all the regeneration potions are there, which makes this chest no longer theoretical, but a real thing in the game. And again, the immense distance from spawn of these anomalies means that without Chris's algorithm, no one in history would have ever discovered these chests by chance. And who knows what else is out there. There could be other legendary chests millions of blocks away in the overworld, nether, or even in the end, on any seed in Minecraft. But without seed finders like Chris, it would be near impossible to find them. Have you ever wondered what's the tallest grass in Minecraft? This may sound like the kind of thing you'd see on a Canman 18 short at 3 AM, but there's actually a certain grass that someone found which is taller than all other grass in Minecraft. But how is that even possible? We all know that grass can either be 1 or 2 blocks tall, so most people don't even think the tallest grass can exist. Well, believe it or not, somehow someone managed to find a grass that's too tall to exist and shouldn't even be possible. It all started on October 25th, 2024, when a Discord user by the name of TTHBage sent a message on my server with a screenshot showing an abnormally tall grass in his world. As you can see, the image he posted shows a naturally generated grass that's 4 blocks tall. So to take a closer look at this, we need to load this seed on version 1.13, and we can see that the tall grass is located right next to the nearest lake at spawn. And if I clear this area to see it properly, you can see just how weird its height is. As for what's happening here, we can see that this 4 block grass is actually made up of 2 double tall grasses, rather than being a single long grass. And you might be wondering why 2 grasses even generated on top of each other in the first place. Well, this happened because on 1.13, there was a glitch that sometimes made it possible for floating grass to grow next to lakes, which means that a double tall grass grew on this bottom layer, and then on top of it, a second double grass generated floating in the air, which makes it a 4 block grass. Now, as you can probably tell, this isn't a one-of-a-kind anomaly, or even as rare as the previous ones, because if seed finders really wanted to, I'm sure they'd be able to find another one like this with enough searching on 1.13. But right now, this is technically the tallest grass that's ever been found in Minecraft. And you might be wondering whether taller grasses are theoretically possible in this version, like a 5 or 6 block grass. Honestly, no one knows. But if multiple lakes were able to stack on top of each other somehow, a 5 or 6 block grass might be possible. But if this does exist somewhere, no one's shown any interest in looking for it. So I highly doubt something like this will ever be found. On the 12th of November 2024, Dylan DC14, who's a famous seed finder, uploaded a video on his YouTube channel showing a seed with something that's never been seen before. If we type in this seed on version 1.21.3, we'll enter a fairly normal world. But wait, what's this? We got an achievement, I Spy. The achievement that you're only supposed to get after playing for hours and finding the stronghold. So what happened here? Well, as you can see, part of this stronghold is exposed in a ravine, which is a bit uncommon, but not too crazy. What makes this seed one of a kind has to do with the fact that you spawn here, because on Java Edition, strongholds are supposed to generate thousands of blocks away in a ring pattern. So the reason we spawn here is because at the coordinates 0, 0, this seed has a giant mushroom island, which is a biome that you can't normally spawn in. So instead, the game spawns you thousands of blocks away and directly on top of this stronghold. And this is the only known seed that gives you this achievement right when you spawn. But as a side note, there's a bit of variance with the spawn location. So you won't always get the achievement right when you spawn, meaning you may need to reload the seed a couple of times for this to happen. In episode 5 of this series, I showed the biggest diamond vein that had ever been discovered in Minecraft, which was a 30 block vein found by the seed finder 19mrx98 on his YouTube channel back in 2021. This held the record as the biggest diamond vein until 1.18 changed diamond generation, which made it possible for larger veins to exist. To test out this new generation, 19mrx98 used a data pack on 1.17 that simulated 1.18's world generation, and within that, he found a 44 diamond vein that was possible. However, no one had yet to find it on 1.18, and ever since then, seed finders have been running programs to try and find the largest vein in these new versions. Until finally, on January of 2025, a seed finder named Scriptline posted an image in the Minecraft at Home Discord server, showing a diamond vein with 44 diamonds on the latest version. This vein can be found by entering this seed on version 1.21 and teleporting to these coordinates, which are almost 14 million blocks away on the x-axis and over 22 million blocks away on the z-axis, showing just how improbable finding something like this is. This 44 block vein is currently the biggest diamond vein that's ever been found, and after finding it, Scriptline issued an official challenge to all seed finders to find one that's larger than this, but so far no one's found one. On October 31st, 2024, a Discord user by the name of Unassumed discovered a very unusual anomaly on an old version of Minecraft. By entering this seed from version 1.7.2 to 1.7.10, everything seems normal at first, but if we teleport to these coordinates, we can see that we're inside a stronghold. While walking around, there's nothing crazy yet. There's no Elder Guardian or anything out of place, and even the end portal room isn't that rare, except for a weird little passageway on the side. What makes this stronghold unique is that if we enter the library room, you'll notice that there's a glitched dungeon and a whole bunch of items that are thrown on the floor. Dropped items aren't intended to naturally generate in Minecraft and can only be found in rare circumstances. The reason these are here is because a dungeon generated at the same location as a stronghold library chest, which caused the wall of the dungeon to override the chest and drop all of its loot on the ground. But what's interesting is that these aren't the items of a normal chest. This specific stronghold chest happened to generate on a 4-chunk border when the dungeon generated next to it, which caused the contents of the chest to be duplicated 4 times. As you can see, the 16 pieces of paper, 4 fire aspect and sharpness books on the ground. It looks like Herobrine went on this seed, dropped his inventory and left. This happening is only possible on these old versions, and this was actually discovered by sheer coincidence, as Unassumed was seed finding for something else entirely when he found this. He was probably searching for a full end portal, which is why the portal in this stronghold is nearly complete. Unassumed also said that if this duplication glitch had happened to a different stronghold chest that had ender pearls in it, it may be possible for a single chest to duplicate and drop 12 ender pearls, which would be enough to light a whole end portal. But because this glitch is so obscure, there's no effort being made by anyone to find a chest like this. So it's likely that a glitched chest on this version will never be found again, without seed finders looking for it. On the 26th of August 2024, a seed finder by the name of Kima sent 2 screenshots to the Minecraft at Home Discord server. These screenshots showed an old version of Minecraft and what appears to be the ruins of a stronghold all across the ground. There are even bookshelves that generated in the middle of the forest, along with cobblestone and stone bricks everywhere. As you can tell, somehow this stronghold managed to generate abnormally close to the surface, with entire sections of it being above ground level. Something else that's weird about this is that this seed is on version 1.0, which was released in 2011. But as I mentioned, the actual find of this seed was in August of 2024. So Kima was searching for the seed on this ancient version in the modern day. And to see this anomaly, we have to type in this seed. You can't teleport to coordinates in this update, so you'll have to make your way to this location to see it. I'm not sure whether stronghold generation was different back in this update to make this possible, but strongholds look exactly the same since version 1.0. So I don't think there's something specific about this version that makes this more likely to happen. And I haven't seen any other strongholds from old versions that generate like this. But there have been other strongholds in modern versions that are above ground, but usually it's only a small section of the stronghold, rather than most of it like this one. Just imagine if you were a noob back in the day and came across this. You'd probably think these were some ancient ruins or a new structure that can be found above ground. What's even crazier is that the end portal room is completely exposed, which usually never happens, even in these weird seeds. And we can't ignore the fact that this is on version 1.0, which gives the seed a certain charm charm since it's got the old textures and world generation. And if you're wondering why this is on version 1.0, that's because Kima is known for seed finding in extremely old versions, and they've also found some other weird seeds like an 11-eye end portal in version 1.0. Personally, this seed has the most interesting stronghold generation that I've ever seen, and that's including other stronghold anomalies that I've covered in the past. It has a very mysterious atmosphere to it. But let me know what you think, and if you've seen a stronghold that's more interesting than this. Have you ever wondered what the rarest mob drop in Minecraft is? Like how when you kill a zombie, there's a 2.5% chance for it to drop an iron ingot. Or how sometimes mobs will rarely drop armor. Compared to anomalies, even these rare drops are common, because most of us have played the game for so long that we've gotten them many times before. But what if I told you that in some cases, certain mob drops can be so rare that they can become anomalies? On October 3rd of 2023, a deleted Reddit user made a post on the Minecraft subreddit showing potentially one of the rarest mob drops that has ever been recorded in Minecraft. In their post, the Reddit user explained that they had killed a single skeleton and it dropped its entire set of chainmail armor, its bow, 2 arrows, and a bone. This is the type of loot you'd expect by killing many skeletons. So for a single skeleton to drop so many items, it's so rare that to my knowledge, no one has ever reported it before. It's not known exactly how rare this mob drop is, but someone in the comments of the post claimed that it was a 1 in 2 million chance, which isn't one of a kind, but it's still incredibly rare. But it's possible for a skeleton drop to be even rarer than this, if it dropped 2 bones instead of 1, or if its armor and bow were enchanted. But right now, this is likely the rarest skeleton drop that's ever been reported in Minecraft. And yes, I know that we can't verify that this actually happened, because the original poster said that they had issues rendering their video, which is why they only posted a screenshot of the loot on Reddit. And since the account is deleted now, we can't even know who posted this to get the video, if they even still have it. But despite that, I actually do believe that this is real, because first of all, you can't craft chainmail armor, and the durability of the bow and armor look legitimately from a mob drop. And yeah, these things can easily be faked, but I doubt anyone would randomly make a fake post about this, since it didn't even get much attention on Reddit. And it's such a random thing to happen that almost no one would even think of faking something like this. But anyway, that's all for this anomaly. Now let's move on to the next one, which has to do with a very unusual location. On September 25th, 2024, a Reddit user called Yeet Me to the Void made a post showing a very strange landmark that he discovered in his world. In this seed, at these coordinates, you can see that some warm ocean ruins managed to generate inside a sparse jungle biome. And while it's not that rare for ocean ruins to generate on land, somehow at this location, the ruins fit very well into the landscape and look almost like ancient jungle ruins. Imagine you're a noob and you came across this. You'd definitely think this was some sort of jungle exclusive structure, rather than anything to do with the ocean. It feels like an ancient civilization lived here, and now all that's left is ruins. Something else about this location is that the ocean that these ruins were supposed to generate in is almost 100 blocks below the jungle, which gives this spot some of the most insane cliffs I've seen in Minecraft. And this location was found by a normal person and not a seed finder, which shows that anyone can randomly come across rare anomalies in their worlds, even without knowing code. In the very first episode of the Rare Anomaly series, I talked about the first naturally completed end portal that was discovered in 2015 by a player named Azalef. This portal generated with 12 eyes, but it wasn't activated because of a bug on all versions pre 1.9. So after this bug was fixed, all portals that are filled with 12 eyes are now automatically activated in modern versions. Or so you'd think, because every portal that generates with 12 eyes since 1.9 has been found to be activated, all except for one. This was commented by one of my viewers named Michelis over 10 months ago in an old Rare Anomalies video, but I didn't see the comment until recently, and after doing some more research, it turns out that this portal was shown in a video by a YouTuber called the Mr. Epic back in March of 2024. But even before then, it was found by 3 seed finders from Minecraft at Home called Matt, Philip D, and Hypers. And when you first look at it, this portal seems completely normal. There doesn't seem to be a reason why it isn't activated, because there's nothing physically broken about it. So why did this happen? Well, I asked some seed finders on Minecraft at Home's Discord server, and they said that this happened because of something known as a population chunk border. A population chunk isn't like a normal chunk, and you can't directly see it by turning chunk borders on. Each population chunk is offset by 8 blocks from normal chunks, and they're responsible for certain parts of terrain generation, in this case the end portal eyes. So what happened here was that 3 of the end portal frames on one population chunk all generated with Eyes of Ender in them, and then the 9 other frames on the other chunk all generated with Eyes of Ender as well. So the game doesn't view this as a single full portal, but as 2 separate ones because of the population chunk border. Seed finders said that this technically isn't much rarer than a normal 12-eye portal, but it's harder to seed find, which is why to my knowledge this is the only seed that's ever been found where the population chunk made it impossible for an end portal to light. So this technically is rarer than normal 12-eye portals, because it's only seed finders that can even find normal 12-eye portals. So if it's harder for them to find one like this, then it technically is more rare. Now let's move on to the next anomaly, which was again found by Dylan DC14. On the 28th of October 2022, Dylan uploaded a video showing some very strange nether fortresses that he found. A lot of them were very interesting, like the smallest nether fortress, which I covered in episode 5 of this series. But one which I didn't talk about is the nether fortress that has dual spawners glitched in the same location. This anomaly is convenient because it's located right at spawn if you place a nether portal in this seed. But if you came across something like this on your own, you'd probably have a hard time defeating all the blazes that spawned from it. It's unknown just how rare this is, but by searching the internet, I haven't been able to find another double spawner stacked like this in a fortress. So this may be a one-of-a-kind anomaly as far as I know. And again, huge credit to Dylan for finding this, and make sure to check out his channel to see other cool seeds as well. On November 29th of 2024, a Reddit user by the name of Open10 Networks came across a strange woodland mansion in his world. From the outside, nothing seems wrong, and even when entering it, there isn't anything immediately off. But if we break through this wall, you can see that there's a fake end portal room, which isn't too rare by itself, right? Well, if we break the next wall, we find another fake end portal. And if we break the third wall, there's another fake end portal room. So this mansion generated with 3 fake end portals, all next to each other. And on top of that, there's 2 different obsidian rooms on different floors, making this an incredibly rare mansion. But there's a mansion that's even rarer than this, which was featured in a video on the 30th of July 2022 by a bedrock seed finder called Cracked Magnet. This mansion has 4 fake portal rooms, which makes this the seed with the most known portals within a mansion. And surprisingly, this still works on the latest version of Bedrock Edition, which is 1.21.51. This makes me wonder though, what would be the theoretical limit of fake end portals in a mansion? If you know anything about that, let us all know in the comments below or in the Discord. Hey guys, I'm from the future again to make another correction. It turns out I was wrong about this mansion having the most portals, because that record actually belongs to Dylan DC14 with this mansion that has 5 fake end portals. But anyway, back to the video. On the 23rd of November 2024, a Discord user named Swux sent me a message about a weird outpost that he found in his world. To my knowledge, this outpost currently holds the record for the most scarecrows, with 9 pairs, making a total of 18 scarecrows. And this also holds the record for the most surrounding structures, as it has 15 surrounding structures in total, which beats a previous anomaly outpost that I talked about in episode 6, which had 12 surrounding structures. And believe it or not, Swux found this by manually searching and without any seed finding tools. I don't know what these pillagers were trying to scare with all these scarecrows, but it's insane to look at. And this outpost is almost as big of an anomaly as me having 23 followers on Twitter. How is this possible? In April of 2025, 2 seed finders named Damduck and Pac-Man MVC discovered something unusual. On this seed, if you go to these coordinates, you'll end up in a stronghold. The first thing you'll immediately notice is the ground is a lava pit. But by looking around, you'll realize this is one of the rarest end portals ever found in Minecraft. Not only are some of the portal frames replaced with stone, but the portal is somehow still activated even if chunks of it are missing. This phenomenon is only possible because of the perfect alignment of a 12-eye portal and this lava pit, which turns nearby blocks into stone. What's even crazier is that another seed finder called M33 Galaxy said that if you teleport to these coordinates instead, the portal will generate like normal because of the order that chunks generate. And this is one of many one-of-a-kind anomalies that we're going to look at in this video. From new world records to seeds that the Minecraft wiki says should be impossible. These are the rarest things ever discovered in Minecraft. So sit back and make sure to subscribe, because my goal is to get 100,000 subs by the end of 2025. Only 61,809 to go. Now let's move on to the next anomaly, where you may be surprised to see that M33 Galaxy was secretly searching for abnormal strongholds of his own. Earlier this year, M33 Galaxy made an interesting discovery. He found that after update 1.19.3, for some reason, villages can overwrite strongholds. So he made it his goal to find an entire village generating inside a stronghold. M33 used his coding knowledge to run a search until finally in April, he came across some of the craziest strongholds in Minecraft. Some of them were these seeds, were houses generated inside stronghold libraries. This other one had an iron golem inside the portal room, and even one where crops were growing inside hallways. But what he was really looking for was a seed with a house generating inside the portal room. And after a long search, he finally found it. This seed has a house that destroys the end portal, and the villager even gets spawn killed by the lava. But what if I told you there's a seed with an even more broken end portal? And we'll see that in a bit, because now I want to move on to a different anomaly that almost no one knows about. A few months ago, a Discord user named Zenith messaged me to discuss an anomaly that various seed finders had been working on for the last few years. What you're about to see hasn't even been made public yet, as this is from a private chat from the famous seed finding server Minecraft at Home. So in Minecraft, you may think your spawn location is always at 0, but it's actually determined by the world seed, meaning that in some seeds, it's possible to spawn hundreds and sometimes thousands of blocks away from 0. A long time ago, I talked about the previous record for the furthest spawn on a single axis, but 2 years have passed since then, and now there's new records and even different categories for the furthest spawn point. The new record for the furthest on a single axis was found by Fragrant Result 186 on this seed, with an x-axis of -2,560, and this seems to be the limit of furthest spawns on a single axis, because a few other seeds were also found without number, but none could surpass it. But on another category called Radial Distance, which is the furthest total distance with both x and z coordinates, the record was found by Zenith on this seed, with 2,576 blocks in total between both axes. And the last category is called L Infinite, which are seeds with the largest values on each axis, but with the smallest difference between them. And the record for that is on this seed, with the spawn being around x 1,784 and z 1,835, found by Jero. A seed finder named Nels was also a huge help to finding all of this, since he was behind a lot of the code, and you'll see that he also helped find another anomaly later on. But now let's move on to the next anomaly, because Zenith also told me about another one-of-a-kind seed which was recently found. In April of this year, 3 seed finders, Zenith, Chris, and M33 Galaxy, worked together to find one of the rarest anomalies ever in Minecraft. If you enter this seed and teleport to these coordinates, it may seem like you're in a normal trial chamber, but if you walk around, you'll realize there's something different about it. For some reason, this trial chamber has an abnormal amount of spawners inside it, and these aren't even trial spawners, meaning they're not supposed to be here. So what's going on? Well, this happened because a rare mineshaft tunnel with multiple spawners generated here, but it was overridden by a trial chamber, leaving behind 6 cave spider spawners, which makes this the hardest trial chamber in all of Minecraft. According to Chris, the estimated rarity of this is less than 1 in trillions, making it one of the most unique anomalies ever discovered. So if you want a cool challenge, try this out. Now let's move on to the next anomaly, where 2 seed finding legends work together to find something no one thought was possible. Last year, I made a video called The Limits of Minecraft World Generation, where I talked about theoretical things that can exist in Minecraft, which haven't been found yet. One of these limits was the highest natural point in Minecraft. You might not know this, but despite Minecraft Worlds having a build limit of 320 blocks, the highest that natural terrain can generate to is 256 blocks. But if a structure manages to generate a wide 256, then it's possible for a Minecraft world to naturally generate higher than the limit. So for example, on this seed, M33 Galaxy discovered an outpost that generated at Y256 that reaches to Y276, but Damduck and Dylan DC14 wanted to find a way to reach Y300. Most people thought this was impossible, but they were determined to find it. So they had their computers search for months on end until they found some of the highest points in Minecraft, such as this seed with a jungle tree at the very top of a floating island, which managed to reach to Y280, and another seed with a mega tiger tree that reaches Y280 as well. But despite how insane they are, they still don't reach Y300, and so they tried something different. They ran a search to find the tallest mansion in Minecraft until they came across this seed with a mansion that goes to Y283. And this is so crazy, it doesn't even seem real. Despite breaking several world records at this point, they were still 13 blocks away from reaching Y300, but there was seemingly nothing in Minecraft that could reach that level. That was until Damduck had an idea. The tallest structure is a mansion at about 30 blocks tall, but tall ice spikes can be over 50 blocks tall, meaning if a tall ice spike generated at the top of the world, then there's a chance it can reach Y300. At this point, they even rented Threadripper CPUs to search for this, and they searched about 100 trillion seeds, with Damduck having done more than 7,500 manual searches, until 1 year later, they finally found it. On this seed, you'll find an ice spike that reaches Y301, and this straight up looks like an ice kingdom from a distance. This seed also has another anomaly of the new tallest ice spike in Minecraft, as this ice spike starts at Y63 and goes to Y251, making it a 188 block tall ice spike. And now that we've seen this, let's move on to the next anomaly, which is about the tallest structure ever discovered in Minecraft. Imagine you're walking in your world and come across an outpost. At first, it looks normal. There's nothing crazy about it, except that it's located almost 3 million blocks away from spawn. But as you go closer, you realize there's a sinkhole with a vertical cliff going down to bedrock, dragging the outpost with it. This seed, found by M33 Galaxy, has the tallest structure in Minecraft, stretching 268 blocks. And something weird about this is that if you follow the support beams, you'll notice they cut off at Y0. This probably happened because old world had bedrock at that level, which didn't let structures go below that. So this outpost could have gone further down, and we would have had a structure over 300 blocks tall. This seed also has the new world record for the biggest natural drop in Minecraft, as you can fall 330 blocks to the bottom. And this anomaly is still in the game as of bedrock 1.21.82. But like other bedrock anomalies, this may be lost to time, because we can't go back versions without external tools. Now, let's move on to the next anomaly, which took the combined effort of some of the best seed finders in Minecraft. Before update 1.18, spawning in mushroom biomes was extremely rare, but still possible, with about 1 in 7,500 worlds having a mushroom spawn. But after 1.18, the way that biomes generated changed, because now mushroom islands can only generate in places with low continentalness, which basically means places furthest away from coastlines. And since the spawn algorithm avoids these areas, it means it's considered impossible to spawn on a mushroom island in modern Minecraft. And even the Minecraft wiki says it can't happen, but the seed finders at Minecraft at Home didn't want to accept this. And from 2022 onwards, many expert seed finders tried to find such seeds using various methods, such as having the entire 5,000 block spawn radius covered by a single mushroom island. But despite searching trillions of seeds, they always came up short. The hunt for a seed like this lasted on and off for several years, and despite not finding one, many of the largest mushroom islands were discovered during this period, such as Jiro's 5.41 million block mushroom island and Meowx's 5.88 million block island. But the community seemed to be at a loss. That was until a legendary seed finder called Nels had one last idea. For 2 years, Nels had been working on finding the furthest spawns in Minecraft, and at this point, Nels knew everything about the spawning algorithm. So if there was one person who could figure out how to spawn on a mushroom island, it was him. Nels discovered a quirk in the spawn algorithm that made it so that if you spawn in an ocean, the game will try to spawn you on the closest piece of land within 5 chunks. So they just had to find a seed with a mushroom island being the only available spot within 5 chunks. So Nels gave the code to several other seed finders to search for a seed like this. And after searching 8 trillion seeds, in July of 2024, Jiro found it. This seed spawns you on the very edge of a mushroom island, making this the last mushroom island spawn since 1.18. There's also a video that covers the entire history of this search, which took the combined effort of 12 seed finders. I put the link in the description and I recommend checking it out afterwards. But in the aftermath of this, Zenith ended up finding something equally impressive. As I mentioned previously, during the large-scale hunts done for a mushroom island spawn, many of the largest islands were discovered. But when the mushroom spawn was actually found, everyone was moving on to other projects, except Zenith. Zenith was one of the last seed finders still searching for the largest mushroom island. He believed it was possible to find one at least 6 million blocks in size, and so he continued searching, and after nearly 500 hours, he finally found it, with a total surface area of almost 6.3 million blocks. And if you stand in the middle of this, it almost looks like a single biome world. Now let's move on to the next anomaly, which is about the most broken end portal in Minecraft. Alright, remember how I said there's a seed with an even more broken end portal? Well, Damduck and Pac-Man MVC searched even longer to find other abnormal end portals, specifically ones where ruined portals generated on top of end portals. And they ended up finding some insane seeds, like this one, where the end portal still works despite being cut in half by a ruined portal. But then, they came across this seed, where at first it looks like the end portal's destroyed, but if you dig, you'll find a single end portal block. And what makes this crazy is that there's only 3 end portal frames, and none of them have ender eyes in them, which makes this one of the most abnormal end portals in Minecraft. And so you have an idea of how rare this is. Damduck and Pac-Man searched through every single 12-eye portal in existence in the first ring of end portals in all Minecraft worlds. But this isn't the only anomaly that Damduck found recently, because he found something else that's insane. In January of 2025, Camman18 challenged all seed finders to find the loneliest block in Minecraft, meaning a block furthest away from all other blocks. Then a few days later, DylanDC14 and Damduck found it on this seed with an endstone that was 460 blocks away from anything else. Most people thought this would end here, but another seed finder called LostXOR messaged Damduck, telling him that it's possible for blocks to generate in the outer end pre 1.9. So the two began their hunt, and after using code to search over 4 billion corners across a billion seeds, they found this one, where a single piece of endstone generated at the world border over 91,000 blocks away from any other block. Most people don't even know blocks can generate out here in old versions, and you're probably wondering, is there a seed with a big outer end island pre 1.9? Well, get ready to see the next anomaly. According to LostXOR, finding big outer end islands pre 1.9 is an incredibly rare phenomenon, with few people in history even knowing these exist. This was possible because sometimes the density noise level became positive, allowing for terrain to generate in the end, even on old versions. And on average, you'd find about 1 end stone per 18,000 blocks of void, which isn't even that rare. It's just that no one bothered going out far enough to look for that, since there was nothing in the end back then. After seeing this, I messaged LostXOR on Discord to ask what was the biggest outer end island pre 1.9. He told me he scanned over 2 billion seeds to hunt for the largest one near the main island, and he even sent me the complete list of seeds where outer end islands generate pre 1.9. As for the largest one, it's on this seed with 45,265 blocks. The reason he searched so close to the main island is that the 1,000 block radius of the end is the same on every version, meaning even if you go to the latest version 1.21.5 and go to these coordinates, this extra island will still be here, but if it was any further out, it would have gotten overwritten by the new outer end islands. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, because on another seed, LostXOR found another big end island, as well as a smaller island next to it. And on that same seed, another seed finder called OG Juicy searched further, and found an end island hundreds of thousands of blocks away from the main island, and there's even a chance for end pillars to generate on these outer islands. LostXOR said there's no hard limit as to how big these can get, so there may even be ones millions of blocks in size. He also found something else that was insane. Do you remember the seeds that have no main end island? Well, one of them secretly has a small island about 500 blocks away, despite not having a main island. Another interesting seed he showed me was this one, with the main end island mimicking a super flat world. And another was this one, with a seemingly normal end island, but with a floating exit portal, because of a single block that generated at 0,0. Now let's move on to the next anomaly, which has a one-of-a-kind bedrock spawn point. Do you remember that seed that spawned you in a lava pit on Java Edition? Well, it turns out Bedrock Edition isn't safe either, because M33 Galaxy found this seed, where the moment you log in, you're in a giant lava pit with no way to escape. And this is the only known seed on Bedrock Edition that has a soft lock like this. And you might know that on the Java seed, a player called Mellow discovered a way to escape using a glitch where he relogged to get spawn immunity, and then he managed to glitch onto a ledge to survive. But the difference with this Bedrock seed is that it's actually impossible to escape, because on Bedrock Edition, you don't get spawn immunity, and all the ledges are too far. But if anyone does know a way to escape this, feel free to make a video on it. Now, M33 Galaxy didn't stop there with his seed finds, because he found an even weirder spawn point, which we're gonna look at next. M33 was searching for the lowest spawn point in Minecraft, but he ran into a problem. It was possible to spawn in giant caverns, but under Y-54, lava starts generating, meaning it's not possible to spawn below that under normal conditions. But very rarely, it's possible for structures to create air around them and allow players to spawn lower. So he searched, at first finding a mineshaft that spawns you at Y-57, but this still wasn't low enough, and so he searched for ruined portals until he came across this seed. At Y-63, this is the lowest spawn point in Minecraft, spawning you on top of bedrock. The only problem is that the spawn radius can spawn you anywhere in the surrounding area, so this can take hundreds of tries until you spawn on this exact spot. And fun fact, you're also soft locked with no way to escape. But M33 also ended up finding some one-of-a-kind seeds during this seed hunt, such as this seed with a new record for the most broken bedrock, with 51 blocks being broken by a ruined portal. Another insane find was this one, where there's a naturally generated air block at the bottom of the world, which to my knowledge is the only seed with something like this. He also found this seed, where when you log in, there's a ruined portal with snow at bedrock level, before it gets wiped out by lava. Imagine if someone played Bedrock Edition for the first time and got the spawn kill seed, and then they switch to Java and they get this seed. It's insane what can happen. But M33 Galaxy wasn't done yet, because he found yet another rare anomaly. At this point, M33 Galaxy's gone on a seed finding rampage, finding rare anomalies left and right. But he's not done yet, because this time he was on the hunt for a seed with an ocean without any water in it. This is unheard of, but after searching 14 billion seeds, he came across this one. When you spawn and walk around, you might think, what a nice little plains biome this is. But this patch of grass is actually a landlocked ocean, with only 2 blocks of water in it. And even though it's not completely waterless, it's still insane. But now it's time to move on to the next anomaly. Have you ever walked around your Minecraft world until suddenly you see a naturally generated skyblock island? Well, I bet you haven't, since something like this is so rare that no one's managed to find a seed that perfectly replicates it. But a seed finder called Doogie8876 found this seed, which is the closest so far. And yes, this isn't the exact shape of skyblock, but think of it like a custom island. As for the original one, I was wondering whether it was possible, so I asked 2 legendary seed finders, Dylan DC14 and Chris, to see whether it can naturally generate, and they both said the same thing, that it will be very rare because Minecraft's terrain is interpolated, meaning that sharp edges are often rounded. So it is possible, but no one's found a perfect replica so far. And if it ever does get found, I'll let you all know. This is another seed found by Doogie8876, where he discovered a bedrock seed with the most illegal cactus in Minecraft. So first, we have a cactus growing out of a flower pot, and another cactus growing on top of it, which is right next to a wall. Then a button cuts the cactus in half, leaving the top section floating, and right next to a wall. This is such a cool find, but sadly, this no longer works on Bedrock Edition, because this seed was found a few months ago, and the game has updated since then. So please, Mojang, let us go back versions on Bedrock, so these anomalies aren't lost forever. Anyway, let me know in the comments which cactus you like more, this cactus or the 24 block tall cactus on Java Edition. And let's move on to the next anomaly. What if there was a seed where a villager is speedrunning Minecraft? This probably sounds insane, but an experienced seed finder called Mooing Cow Milk, alongside some others, found a seed where this technically happens. If you go on this seed, you'll see an igloo, which seems normal, but if you go inside and climb down the ladder, you'll realize you're in a stronghold. When you enter the portal, you'll realize that a villager speedran getting to the end before you. This happened because this igloo generated in the perfect position that made the villager and zombie villager fall into the portal right when they spawned. And speaking of villagers, this next anomaly is about some of the rarest village generation ever found. In rare circumstances, multiple villages can generate near each other on Java Edition, with the most possible being 4 villages. Some seeds like this have been found, but that's not the rarest, because each village also has a small chance of being abandoned. And Zenith was determined to find a seed with the most abandoned villages all in one place. But for multiple abandoned villages to generate near each other is an almost unbelievably rare event. And after searching trillions of seeds, what he found was a one-of-a-kind phenomenon, with 4 abandoned villages generated within 360 blocks of each other. This has never been found in history, and he estimated the rarity to be about a 1 in 20 trillion chance, meaning you'd never stumble across something like this in your life. But this isn't the only strange structure generation, as we'll see in the next anomaly. Imagine walking in a dark forest and suddenly seeing your woodland mansion roof right under you. On this seed found by mooing cow milk, an entire mansion generated underground, almost completely covered by the landscape. There are even glowberries in here as it intersects with lush caves. Imagine you were mining and randomly came across this. You'd probably be freaked out, but this isn't the only mansion that generated in a strange location, because mooing cow milk discovered another abnormal mansion. This one somehow generated in the middle of the ocean, and there's literally no land anywhere, making this insanely rare. And speaking of rare, this next seed is one of a kind. Imagine spawning in a world and instantly getting a diamond dropped into your inventory. This may seem impossible, but as you've seen by now, seed finders can find anything in this game. So in October of 2024, Dylan DC14 found a seed that spawns you on a minecart chest that generates right next to a cactus, making it break and dropping the loot. So you instantly get a diamond right when you spawn. And this is the only known seed where this happens. And that's every anomaly. But wait, that's only 96. So I'm gonna show you 4 more anomalies from the upcoming episode 11. Just don't tell anyone, alright? At this point, we all know about the seeds with no end islands. But have you ever wondered, what's the biggest end island ever found? Well, the average main end island is estimated to be between 600,000 and 1 million endstone in size. However, earlier this year, Damduck wanted to find the biggest possible one, and he searched about 700 million seeds until he found this one. This seed has an end island with almost 2.3 million blocks of endstone, with its surface having almost 60,000 blocks, and stretching 300 blocks across each side. But if you want the island with the most surface blocks, then it's this one, with almost 63,000 blocks on the surface. But it's slightly smaller overall, with 2.2 million blocks of volume. Damduck said that end islands get exponentially rarer the bigger they are, with about 1 in every 10,000 islands being around 1.8 to 2 million blocks. But anything bigger than that is much rarer. We all know that there's a small chance for villages to be abandoned, but a Discord user named Serbia found one that's very strange. If you go on this seed, you'll find a ghost village that has no houses at all, but you'll also notice from the cobwebs that this is an abandoned village as well, making it the most abandoned village in Minecraft, since they even abandoned building any houses. And this might also hold the record for the most mismanaged farm system ever. Since there's water flowing everywhere, they really did abandon this village. In 2021, a seed finder called Cortex was searching for the biggest end city in Minecraft, and what he found was this seed, where an end city generated with about 25 different rooms. I couldn't find a lot of details about how this seed was found or how rare it is, but the fact that you need to travel almost 30 million blocks on each axis to find this probably means that it's a 1 in billions, if not trillions chance to find this. And I'm not sure what the limit is for end cities to generate, so who knows if there's larger ones somewhere out there. And if anyone knows, feel free to comment down below. Earlier this year, a seed finder called Cracked Magnet discovered a bedrock seed with something never before seen. If you go to these coordinates, you'll find an igloo that generated at the bottom of a lake. But the weirdest part is that the igloo ladder is perfectly aligned with the end portal under the lake. And if you follow it down, you'll find the basement goes straight through to the void, creating a 7x9 hole in the bedrock, which is the biggest void hole ever found in Minecraft. And theoretically, if you dug this out in survival, you could have a giant pit that leads to the void. And that's all for now. See you in the next one. Bye.